feel skinnier today for some reason. I feel like significantly skinnier. I don't know. I don't know why this is. Yeah, I feel really skinny. I feel like I lost like 30 pounds. Anywho, good morning everybody. Good morning, Umbe. Jaime. Umbe, Jaime. I've never had to say those names back to back. Anyways, good morning, Umbe. Good morning, Jaime. Good morning, Crow. Crow. I think it's Crow. I think we have discovered that's Crow, but it's hard for me to get rid of Crow. So I apologize for that. Good morning, Jordan. Good morning, Potato Gaming. Good morning, Jesse. I feel like on the days that my internet goes down, that's when everyone comes out. Either it's that, or it's just that it makes me so late that there's enough time for everybody to show up. Maybe that's what it is. Anyways, since I am behind, I'm not going to be starting with Spring Street as usual. Ooh, I want to show you guys something, but I'll make it wait till later. There was something that happened at the pretty towards the tail end of 181, of stream 181, and I said to myself and to you all, that's a really good conversation, but I'm out of time now, so I'm not gonna have that. Maybe we can have it next time. And I've simply forgotten what that is. So if anybody does remember what that is, let me know. If you don't, I'm gonna go ahead and start with what's something I don't play often. I guess I'll start with Around the Pond. Sounds kind of hard to play. I probably should warm up to it with a different track, but I'm not gonna. I'm just not gonna. Good morning, Liana. It wasn't you said something about evening stream. I suggested a movie night. Oh, it was because there's this thing called, I've talked about it a few times on the stream, Super Sentai. It's like the unregionalized version of Power Rangers, I guess. And I've been wanting to like marathon that with a friend. It doesn't have to be that, but maybe something. Whoa, bro, did the typewriter. Congratulations. You did it on the crap. What were you trying to play it on? You're trying to play on one of those little thingies. The thumb piano. What's it called? Kalimba, right. Good morning, Nadia. That's really good news, bro. was your big breakfast? Well, I didn't get to actually eat it, but I had made some seared potatoes because I only have one potato left, and I wanted to cook it before it got all mushy. Seared potatoes, and there's garlic in them. And then, of course, I have my waffle. But the waffle has a lot of cinnamon and nutmeg in it. Maybe too much. I don't know. I haven't taken my first bite of it yet. Cinnamon and nutmeg. And then, of course, just bacon. But I've been trying to get better at, like, I don't know if you guys put, if you guys, like, have ever put syrup on your bacon while you're frying it for, like, candied bacon. But it just demolishes the pan. It demolishes the pan. So I've been trying a newer technique to keep it from doing that. When I say demolishes the pan, it like when sugar like burns onto a pan, it's really really hard to get off. So, um, anyways, I had that, and then I made a fruit compote. I figured out that like here's how I usually have fruit when I'm having like fruit as a side. I'll usually just get like strawberries, watermelon, honeydew, blueberries, maybe banana, and I'll cut them up and I'll kind of just like toss them together. But recently, I've tried cutting them up and storing them together for a little while, like just a little while. Um, and it's like I don't want to talk about it, but their juices mix and it makes like this really weird. It's almost like my smoothie. It's like a physical version of my smoothie. Because when I'm having my smoothie, I can't really differentiate a lot of times like the different flavors. They all just kind of become this one delicious thing. And there's a way to do that physically as well. Anyways, Crow says freeze fresh fruits. I do freeze fresh fruits. That's how I make my smoothies, Crow. I don't know if you've ever seen me in the stream. Usually I'll have like a NutriBullet cup with like a stainless steel straw coming out of it. Those are blended frozen fresh fruits, if that makes sense. Are you just trying to do like an alliterative tongue twister? Either way, either way. Um, I appreciate the input. It caramelizes onto the pan. It's terrible. I use a roasting rack and do it in the oven. Ah, broiler on. Yeah, baby. Jesse knows what I'm talking about. Jesse has already come up with their own clever detour, I guess. Not a detour. No, detour. Detour. Okay, so I finished on the around the pond. Sorry. I love that song. I thought you had them in the fridge, not the freezer. Oh, word, Crow. Yeah, no, I have to freeze them because of the amounts that I make. Usually when I prep for smoothies for the week, I get like 2 to 4 crates of strawberries, like 4 crates of blueberries, a whole watermelon, um, a good rack of bananas, if not like hands of bananas. I get like a lot. So if I just put them in the fridge, they would spoil before I had a chance to smoothie all of them. Speaking of smoothies, I think I might need to buy a new NutriBullet soon. I think my baby's reaching the end of its lifespan, which is sad. But the fact that NutriBullets only cost about 60, $70, and that my mom gave me that NutriBullet, it was actually a gift from my mom um, when I moved out here. I had to dream about my mom last night. Anyways, it was a gift, like kind of like a I don't know, like a housewarming gift from my mom when I moved here, and that was 5 years ago, almost 6. So the fact that that blender has lasted that long and it was only $60, like I don't feel bad, especially considering how much I used to abuse it in the very beginning. Like I didn't follow the directions at all. I was just putting anything in there, and you can't do that to a blender. Anywho, uh, oh, it's never helped me. That's a lie. Your meal is just sitting there waiting to be eaten. It's in like, it's contained, Lindsay. It's contained. I'm not worried about like flies or anything getting to it. It's contained. But yeah, it is sitting there. One thing is not finished though. I wasn't completely done. I was gonna do one more thing, so it's not quite finished yet. Don't let it get cold. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I make McDonald's my food, where it's just like if I made food, I'll put it on a plate and I'll have I'll put it on a plate and I'll have the foil, and then I put the oven on just like a really really low setting Sometimes it'll dry the food out. Sometimes it'll dry the food out. When my oven's really old and there's a setting that's so low that it doesn't do that. What on earth? Oh, okay. I understand. It's not the garbage truck. It is Trash Tuesday, but the trash truck, to my knowledge, isn't supposed to be here yet. Whoa. Who are they? We don't know. Sorry. It's weird. I mean, I feel like this note probably isn't at the top of many of my chord arrangements. I feel like it's usually one of the white keys. I also don't think that they. I also don't think that they um, all beat at the same pitch because I have harmonized to the garbage truck backing up before, and it was not those chords. Anyways, ugh. I had the weirdest dream last night, guys. It was one of those crappy dreams where your teeth fall out. I haven't had one of those in so long. I'm so bad at keeping time, which is something that I realized when I was playing with Mac. I used to be really good at it because I used to play in a lot of bands, but I no longer play with bands, so being in an ensemble is it's just not where I am anymore. You said your mom was in it too. That was a different dream. Those were definitely two different dreams. The mom one was kind of normal. The teeth one was like there was some dude that definitely worked at crap like American Eagle or Hollister or one of those type of stores. Hollister, American Eagle. What's another one? Ugh, I hate that sound. Anyway, some guy worked out there, but he said he worked out at NASA. It doesn't sound very strange, but there was a lot of other really weird stuff that happened surrounding me and his rivalry. Omni, what fruit do you dislike? I'm not a big fan of cranberries, actually. Cranberries, I've tried putting them in smoothies, I've tried making juices out of them. I've tried cranberry sauce. Just something about a cranberry, like, makes my throat feel really dry and itchy. And the flavor isn't good enough to sacrifice that. To, like, sacrifice that, if that makes sense. It's not worth risking. So I'm not a big fan of cranberries. Um. Ugh. The reason I was confused by the truck is because it's very clearly, or was, a Penske truck. You know, those big yellow Penske trucks? But somebody has painted over the Penske logo and written their own. So, I don't know what the truck's doing here. Oh. Whoa. Yeah, I still don't know what it's doing here. They're unloading stuff, and then another guy is loading all that stuff directly into the trunk of his car. Living at the end of a cul-de-sac is weird. Anyways, if the crayons are white, they aren't ready. If they're ruby red inside, they're ready. I've never had a white cranberry. Huh. No, they were red inside. Yeah, cranberries are nasty, says I. Aww. Like mines. Yeah, I just don't enjoy the taste. I think, I've definitely had, hold on. Thought I was gonna sneeze. I've definitely had, like, meat from, like, fancy restaurants, and somebody was like, yeah, so then we put it in that cranberry reduction, yada yada yada, and I ate it, and it was, like, okay, but I almost don't count that. Cranberries themselves, I'm just not a fan of. I would not eat them out of, like, a crate or something like that. Pretty much any other fruit I can think of, I'm okay with. Grapefruit is, like, too sour for me. Like, grapefruit, like, makes my... Ugh, it's, like, bitter almost. It, like, doesn't do well. But, cranberry specifically is, like, rough. Combine cranberry and apple juice. Okay, so... I combined cranberry with a plethora of different juices, Crow, when I was trying to put them in my smoothies. That's actually what's probably important I should mention here. I tried to integrate cranberries into my smoothies, which apple juice exists in. Apple juice is kind of like the liquid base of a lot of the smoothies that I make, particularly the ones that you guys have seen on the stream. It still doesn't do it for me. Cranberries are so, like, potent to me that they can, like, overpower a lot of stuff. And any fruit, and I mean this, any fruit that needs to piggyback or combine with the flavors of other fruits for me to find it palatable is probably a fruit that I don't like. It's probably just a fruit that I don't like. For example, I really do not like chard. If you're familiar with the leafy green chard. But if chard's, like, on a sandwich with a bunch of sauce and, like, other veggies or chicken or beef or something like that, pickles, then I can eat it. But, like, I would never eat, like, a salad in which chard was the main ingredient. It's just awful. But I definitely can, you're right, mix it with other stuff to make it more palatable. Leanna says your cul-de-sac seems to get a lot of action. Mine is usually quiet. Really? A quiet cul-de-sac? Never heard of it. My cul-de-sac is split very, very equally into two halves. At the end of the cul-de-sac, there's nothing. There's an empty driveway. And then on either side, there are the buildings. There's two-story buildings on my side, two-story buildings on the other side, and then it kind of trails off down the street. And I feel like my side of the cul-de-sac is very Asian and Hispanic, and then there's me. And then the other side of the cul-de-sac is gentrified, so it's all white people. There's nothing but white people over there. The buildings look kind of the same on the outside, except there's new plants. But once you get on the inside, everything's like super, you know, you've been in a gentrified building where outside it looks like maybe it's $500 a month, then you get inside and realize it's about $2,800 a month because they have, I don't know, the Whirlpool washer and dryer and insulation and all that stuff. Oh, he's leaving. This song's called Winter Heart. Oh, wow. Silence. Oh, that's very pleasant. So, Jesse says avocado. Avocado is something that I've only ever had in savory dishes. I've never had avocado in like a sweet setting like I do bananas. So, I don't. I don't know that I just like avocado. I wouldn't just eat like a slice of avocado. I don't think, but I do like it the way that it's used in Mexican food, for example. Like I love avocado just like laid over the top of a taco or something. Um, I'm allergic to grapefruit, says Dar. Oh, me and you, Dar. Me and you, Dar. I'm not allergic to it, but I like that. I like that. I feel like we get along. No grapefruit in this household. The apartment I grew up in was old AF. And then there were units where people moved out and got super done up. Yeah, that's basically what happened here. So there's my side of the cul-de-sac, which is dope. And there's that side of the cul-de-sac, which is expensive. The people on that side don't really talk to us much. Oh, except for one time, there was on the 4th of July. I was out with the kids, and they were doing their firecracker thing, and I have like a long oh man, I have a long you know the lighters with the long neck on it, so you can light things from a good like foot away. Um, on the 4th of July, usually I'll stand out there, and all the little kids that have their like firecrackers, they'll go and they'll get their firecrackers from Dave, and then they'll run up to me, and I'll just light them all up so that they can do their thing. And while I was on fire duty, one of the people that live in the gentrified ones like walked by with their dog, which was weird because I wouldn't walk out there with my dog while we were doing the firework thing, but she walked by, and she did make eye contact, so that's progress, right? Avocado makes smoothies creamy, good with chocolate. Ooh, I don't like chocolate, but that sounds dope actually. I put the creamy consistency for my smoothie definitely comes from the yogurt that I put in it. But I believe that avocado would do the same thing. People used to describe, because I didn't have avocado until I didn't actually eat avocado until 2016, so pretty recently in my life. And people used to describe the flavor to me as being, oh, it's creamy. And I'm like, I don't think I want to eat a creamy fruit. That sounds weird. People are like, oh, it's like maybe like a banana, but not really. It's like a creamier banana. And I was like, yeah, that sounds stupid. I don't want that. But turns out it's okay. Um, has anyone yelled out to you through the window on me? People have yelled through the window at me while I've been streaming, Crow. Yeah. People usually, I mean, it's not like, you use the term yell, it sounds kind of aggressive. People like say hi or something like that. There was a girl, when she had her mom was pregnant, and her mom finally had the kid, so she yelled up into the window at me that she had a new baby brother. So like, I guess that counts as somebody yelling up in the window. I don't know if you were here in that stream, Crow. I know that Lindsay was though. Um, my least favorite fruit is probably a pear, mostly because they're always kind of soft. Okay, so I do not like soft pear or soft apple, but I do love the flavor of a pear so much. So much. And I haven't had a pear in a very long time because they're almost weird to buy. My mom used to buy them a lot, but yeah, I haven't had them in a while. Ugh, I love pears. I just love the flavor. Yeah, the consistency is kind of weird though. Pear flavor is really great though. Okay, soft apple actually makes me feel a little sick, says Umbe. Ooh. honeydew and cantaloupe are always put in compotes. Like if somebody's like, oh, there's a fruit basket over there, there's like a fruit bowl, or there's a fruit arrangement or something. There's always big chunks of cantaloupe and honeydew. Not exactly sure what this is. Um, Maybe it's because they're cheap for the amount of fruit that you get. I don't know. Those are the weirder melons. Yeah, watermelon's good. I ain't going about apples for a minute, but I'm gonna say I love apples. I'm a big fan of apples as well. There's just too many of them. I kind of don't love the variety because sometimes I'll fall in love with a particular apple, like ooh Honeycrisp, or ooh I like the Fuji ones or whatever. And then I'll go to a place and they won't have them. It's like they have the galas, they have the. I'm done talking about apples. Anyways, they're good, but there's a lot. Um, I miss edible arrangements, says Crow. What happened? Did they go out of business? News to me. Pink ladies are good too. I don't like it. I don't like how many times food's been the topic. I do like how many times video games have been the topic. Did you end up getting Ghost of Tsushima? No, I have way too much work to do. Last of Us 2 right now, which is why I haven't been streaming since Cyber. Hold up. Pretty much every game I've bought over the last few years I've dropped without finishing, says Leon. That sounds like a nightmare. Only thing that I've been playing, says Jesse, and rarely is Overwatch. I'm going to try and fit more Sky into my free time. Just so much work. Word up, Jesse. Been a while since I've seen you on me, says Philip. Good morning, Philip. Good to see you doing well. I'm off to bed. Good night from Australia. Ooh. Good night, Philip. Thanks for coming in and giving me that greeting. Greeting? Farewell? Okay, I have trouble finishing single-player games now. Don't know why. I'll get right to the end and then stop. Oh, umbe. Still trying to find time to play Final Fantasy VII Remake. Ay. I'm not gonna play the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Haha. I'm not gonna play it. The only way that I'm gonna start playing Final Fantasy VII Remake is if, one, they confirm how many parts of this game there are going to be, and two, let me know when I can realistically play them. I realize that the length of Final Fantasy VII Remake is the length of an actual game, but I don't want to play Final Fantasy VII Remake, get to the end of that, and then wait, I don't know how long for part 2, and then I don't know, part 3, 4, 5, like I don't even know how many parts there are. So basically, I'm chill right now on the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It looks good, and I would love to play it, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. This thing happens to me, guys. We know how my memory works. For example, this week or whatever, this month, the free game for PlayStation is Tomb Raider 3. Now, I did play Tomb Raider 1 and 2. I played them on Xbox 360, and I played them years ago. At the very least 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. And I thoroughly enjoyed those games, but I don't really remember anything from them. So I feel a little uncomfortable starting the third one with such limited knowledge of the first two, or memory of the first two, I should say. Now, all that being said, I do feel like the game's good, and I'm going to play it anyway, but I'm just saying that I'm not excited about going in like that. When I played Uncharted 4, when Uncharted 4 came out, I actually marathoned the trilogy. I marathoned Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, which are pretty short games to be fair. but I marathoned them so that when I went to 4, I had like a fresh memory, you know, of what had happened. Um, it's a lot easier to do this with movies, obviously. Like if they made like for some reason decided to make like an Edward Scissorhands 2, I could really quickly watch Edward Scissorhands 1 before I watched 2. It takes very little time. Games, however, playing through an entire game takes a significant amount more time than watching a movie does. So it's a little bit harder to do that when a new game comes out. But I have such a bad memory that I'll forget a lot about a game, and I don't want to watch like a YouTube recap. This is a very specific thing that I don't like. I don't like looking at YouTube recaps of games. I don't like it. So I just play through the game again. Something about living through it is more effective and important to me. Okay. 2 years maybe, according to them. But PS5 is coming out, so probably 6 years. Yeah, see, Cyber... I know that's a joke, but still. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to play basically the early chapters of a Final Fantasy 7. By the way, a game that we've all played, right? We've already played Final Fantasy 7. We know what happens. So I'm not going to play like the early parts of that game and then wait 2 years for, I don't know, the midsection of that game to come out or the rest of that game to come out. I would just like to be able to play one solid, you know, experience. It would be different if we didn't know the story. It would be different if we didn't know that this was just a piece of the story, right? But we know it's a piece of the story. I know it's a piece, so I'd rather have the whole thing. I'm this way with a lot of stuff. I don't really like looking at shows as they come out anymore. I like to binge shows. You know, like Hannah. I just saw the second season of Hannah, which was amazing, by the way. And I think if that came out episodically, I don't know if I would watch it. I would just wait for the season to end, and then I would come at the very end and then like burn through it. I played FF7 Remake immediately because I had it pre-ordered from like 2 years. Holy crap, 2 years ago. But after beating it, I probably could have waited. Honestly, I just concerned about spoilers for sure. Cyber. Um. Word Cyber. I think. I don't know how I've avoided spoilers. I feel like Final Fantasy VII Remake really isn't on my timeline anymore, just because other games have come out since. Like The Last of Us 2, which I'm also worried about spoilers for. I feel like the list of games that I have to play keeps compiling and getting longer, and I keep not playing them, and then games keep getting added to them. Like Ghost of Tsushima is now added, and I haven't played that, obviously. Or any of the games, other games on my list. Anyways, I worked on advertising boxes for Hannah. That makes me so happy. I finally know somebody that was close to the magic. Liana, thank you so much for your work on that show. The show was amazing. I like that show. I like that show. That show is so oddly paced. I'm not going to say its pacing is great, and I'm not going to say its pacing is bad. I'm going to say its pacing is different. It's paced so differently than most shows I've seen. And if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the show, I recommend it. If you have Amazon Prime, it's a pretty good show. I would say one of the better shows on Amazon Prime. They're all good, but I would recommend that. Marvelous Miss Maisel is another really good one on Amazon Prime. Why are the chords in Gucci Gang? Oh, what are the chords in Gucci Gang? And what was the thought process behind them? Oh, haha. Okay, well, the chords in Gucci Gang are these. This is the first chord. This is the second chord. This is the third chord. And then the second time it runs through, this is the first chord again. This is the second chord again. And the third chord changes to this instead of this. The thought process. I am a little... Okay, so short answer first. There wasn't really a thought process behind it. I was just throwing random chords together. It was a remix, and I don't put a lot of thought into those like remixes that I was putting on Twitter. It was honestly, I don't really know what to refer to you as. I'm gonna call you Y. Y. Oh no, I can't say that because that'll be confusing in the explanation. I'm gonna call you Sub. I'm gonna call you Even Sub. Okay, Even Sub. I feel like when I was putting out a lot of remixes, I'm assuming that maybe you just heard the Gucci Gang remix or something. Or maybe you did hear Gucci before you heard the Gucci Gang remix. Maybe you don't even know that it was a remix, in which case, like, props to you, because that's rare. But maybe you just heard it because it got big on something else, and you haven't heard many of my other, like, hip-hop remixes that I was posting on, like, Twitter and stuff like that. But a lot of them were I would just play the acapella of a rap song, and then I would just kind of like fill out chords underneath it. Usually like 3 to 5 chords. And for Gucci Gang, it just happened to be these easy chords to play. If you're looking at my right hand, it's really not moving much. It's first here, here, and then here. For example, these 2 notes are being played the entire time. It's just a moving bass line. And so, that said, yeah, there wasn't a lot of thought that went into that chord progression. I hate that there's not a cooler story behind them. I'm sorry, even so. However, there's a lot of like my technique behind them. For example, like flipping chords over so that they're easier to play and don't require too much hand movement, things like that. But yeah, I know there wasn't a huge thought process. But that's a cool question. Thanks for listening to Gucci. I love that chord progression. Hi, Isidora. If the PS5 is mostly backwards compatible on the PS4 library, I will switch right away. They initially announced that it was only about 100 titles, which would work with it though. Yeah, when Sony says the word backwards and followed by the word compatible, I have learned not to trust them. That doesn't mean that there's going to be some issue with the backwards compatibility with PS5. I'm just saying that the PS3 and the PS4 sported some pretty disappointing. Anyways, whatever. When they say backwards compatible, I gotta see it before I believe it. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If somebody comes to me and they say, Omni, I got a PlayStation 5. It plays everything, Omni. I put a PlayStation 1 game in it yesterday. It played that too. If they say that, and I see it, then I'll buy the PlayStation 5 and I'll just switch my library over. But I'm just saying, I don't believe them. I don't believe them. Originally, the PS3 was really good for backwards compatibility. Then not so much. Yes, I was there. I remember, Jesse. I remember the really big fat one. And everybody was like, oh my god, it's playing my PlayStation 2 games. Oh, anybody want to play Final Fantasy X? I was really there for that. And then PlayStation was not. And then when PlayStation 4 came out, it was just like, screw you guys, I guess. So, PlayStation 5 backwards compatibility, boys. Maybe it'll work. Pray to the Sony gods, I guess. Anyways, your backwards compatibility is going to be strictly the you can buy it again sense. Ooh. Look, man, do you know any music theory? If you are mostly just playing around, if not, are you mostly just playing around with ideas you learned from other music? I'll tell you the theory that I know. I know this year, no, last year, sorry, last year, I checked out a book on music theory, and I did learn a couple of things. Now, the first thing I learned was, oh man, maybe I forgot everything. No, no, I know, I know majors and minors are a thing. I know majors and minors are a thing, and that they're very similar. You just move some notes around. I don't know. I don't know. I also know mostly what I learned, honestly. Mostly what I learned, even sub, was terms, right? So I know transposing, right? Transposing something. So like that, and then transposing something down, transposing something up, transposing something up again. I know transposition, which is just playing the same notes but moved around up and down evenly on the piano, like how I do in double luts when I go. So I know that. I know. I used to know more terms, like this, and then this. Those are voicings. Whatever. Even sub. You don't. This is stupid. Even sub. I don't really know much theory. Um, really. I just have played keyboard for a pretty long time. Even sub. I always use inversions. Even sub. It says inversions. Yes, those are inversions. Even sub. I liken my piano playing and music making, because a good thing to remember, even sub, is I'm not really a pianist. I'm more so just a music maker, because it's not. This isn't the only instrument that I play. It just happens to be one of the most compatible instruments when it comes to working with DAWs and electronic software. A lot of electronic software is kind of require, if you want to be able to play it live, record it in, you're going to have to do it on a keyboard, no matter what the instrument is. There isn't like a very reliable way to hook up a MIDI controller cable to like a saxophone and then play in the notes. Oh, garbage man, what are you doing here so late? Oh, he's gonna do it. Give him a second. So yeah, I like my piano playing too, that of like a skateboarder, where it's like, no, I didn't go to school to learn how to skateboard. I didn't necessarily have somebody looking over my shoulder telling me where to put my feet every step of the way. I just kind of fell a bunch, and then you figure out how to fall. And then by process of elimination, you figure out how not to fall. And then you go from there. So by process of elimination, I figured out what sounds bad to my ears. Which, by the way, has shrunk so much. I remember, oh my god, it's literally just a transformer. It just sounds like. Okay, so. I can remember thinking all the black notes sounded bad, even so. I remember playing music, and whenever I would hit a black note, I would think, how on earth does anybody ever hit these things? They all sound rotten. They sound like the white key has gone rotten. Like when you drink milk a little bit too close to its expiration date, so it's not gonna kill you, but it's like, we should really throw this out. It's off. That's what the black notes sound like to me, so I just avoided them. Of course, after years and years of playing keyboard, I started to understand their merit. I also used to think that notes right next to each other sounded bad, like this. I used to think that was like, oh, that's horrible. I used to think that sounded bad, even so. And then, I gave them context, and now I like them. For example, this. play notes around that. Now it sounds not so bad. But on their own, it doesn't sound very good. At least not to me. Um. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Even stuff. I'm not like a classically trained piano player. I'm just somebody that likes music and has taught themselves like 2 or 3 things. Yeah, see, that one's a different beat. I think it's there. Come on, back up again, wait. Yeah, I want to do that chord progression. Good morning, Theo. Why do they make them beep at different notes, you think? Like the garbage truck versus like a moving truck versus the street sweeper versus a forklift. Do you think it's so that people don't get confused? Okay, am I gonna do a full 2 hours today or just 1 hour? Oh, we're coming up on 1 hour, huh? Hmm. Let's see. I'll try to get as close to 2 as I can, as an apology for making everybody wait for so long. Turns out the whole neighborhood, by the way, didn't have internet, because my neighbor texted me about it. Okay. You want to see me playing instruments on my Insta, says Theo. Are you asking me if I want to see you playing instruments on your Instagram? Song's called Signals. Why not, Theo? biggest chord you can play, like most hand spreadiest chord. I guess I'm just like trying to get the most. What's that? I don't know. I would never play this, by the way. Wait, hold on, hold on. Maybe that. Maybe that. Maybe that. Ooh, I kind of like that one, though, actually. Ooh, what is that? Oh, whoa. What is that? Whoa, Cyber. Who goes there? What is that? That's interesting. Maybe if I keep transposing it, I can find what it is. I'll see where it lives. Whoa. I don't know that I've ever. Whoa. Whoa. Sorry, I don't know that I've ever done that before, but I do like that's a cool sound. Interesting. And it is really taxing for one hand. It is really hard for one hand to play that. Does hurt the hand though. Okay, even sub says that's some sort of minor chord, maybe minor 7, maybe, who knows? The man on the moon. My Insta is little underscore Theo underscore again. Oh, yeah, okay. It's the last 6 videos. Word up. Ah, man. I told you guys in the beginning, I felt really skinny, right? I feel like I'm getting skinnier as the stream goes. Okay, anywho. Good question, though, Cyber. Oh, no. That's so annoying. Music is so annoying, guys. Something smells delicious, though. I give up. Wasn't it like Wicker Man or something, says Cyber? What was the name of that movie where the guy keeps getting skinnier and wasting away? It's called Thinner, Cyber. The movie is called Thinner. It's a fat man, and he does something mean to like some guy he thinks is a bum, but it turns out that that bum is like actually like a witch or something. And the bum casts a spell on him and says, "You're gonna keep getting thinner, bro." And the guy's like, "Whatever, I'm fat. Screw you." And then the guy keeps getting thinner somehow, and then he dies. I think he dies, or maybe he survives in the end. I don't know. I I forgot. I forgot about that movie. Wow, that's weird, Cyber. I don't know if I've ever heard that movie referenced out in the wild. wish I had Franklin here. I wish I had Franklin here. I know I brought up Franklin enough in the past couple of streams, but Franklin was always talking about jazz chords and the reason jazz people do what jazz people do. And we talked briefly yesterday in the stream about music education and how when you're given a pretty uniform education to a lot of other people on specific things, you will arrive at a lot of the same conclusions, I guess. Like yesterday in the stream, I was talking about resolving and how a lot of my bodies of work don't resolve, and it's because I wasn't taught to resolve pieces of work. I taught myself how to just end a song when I felt like I wanted it to end, and so yeah, a lot of my work doesn't resolve, and in the music, in the theoretical sense, and so when it comes to chords, I don't really have a lot of musical theoretical reasonings for why I choose certain chords. A lot of the chords that I choose, like particularly in that bridge section in Love Letters. It's hard to play without the right hand, though. Why am I going there? How do I do that? It's so weird. The more times I do it, the harder it gets. Hi, Peas. Even Sub says that's the problem with music education. People tell you if you play this chord, then you got to resolve it to this or this. You got to unlearn all that. See, that's the scary thing, right? Here's the scary thing. Even Sub, you're not the first person, and you won't be the last person to use that word, unlearn. People are like, oh, you have to learn the rules so that you can then break them. I could do a whole 5-hour stream just about that specific idea, theory, philosophy, whatever, you know. I think this is true, Lindsay. This is true, and I don't want it to sound like I'm just bashing on music education. I think everything is going to be that I'm going to say now is coming from my own personal experience. It's nothing to be taken and stored inside of you as like, well, Omni said this. Just know that this is me. This is me. I feel when somebody says you need to learn the rules in order to break them, I disagree because I think rules can be broken without learning them in the first place. It's just how I feel. And so when Franklin came and watched me play music and said, oh my God, you're doing blank, 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 and he had a lot of really cool words for what I was doing, I said, I don't know, man. I'm just doing what I think sounds good. And when Koyo came over and she said, oh my God, a lot of your pieces don't resolve, and was like trying to dissect why that is. Oh, you're leaving the listener hanging, you know, and maybe you're trying to create this emotional, and I was just like, nah, I just like the way that sounds. And so maybe I was breaking a rule of not resolving something, but it wasn't necessarily because I was trying to do something very complex emotionally. I just personally liked the way it sounded ending on such and such a chord, you know. I definitely had more creativity before I actually knew rules of graphic design. And a lot of that comes, this is what Liana says. And I can agree with that, Liana. Granted, I haven't had any formal education on music, but just me learning things, right? I've learned a lot in music making. I've learned about chord structures, my own chord structures, right? I've learned about, I've developed patterns and I've developed habits. And some of those habits were so cool, like I had to work in order to get there. Like, I had to work in order to get those, like those breakdowns, the one that I was just playing. Get through it. Get through it. Like all of those. Those were things that I had to work to get to, and then I got kind of locked into like, oh, I want my music to sound more complex and more complicated. And then Lush Stream came out, where I had to kind of take a step back and recenter myself because I felt like I was getting a lot of stuff, a lot of cool skills, but then I was losing some of my. I don't want to necessarily use the word creativity, but I agree with that use of that word creativity. That when the way you used it, Liana. I got all these keyboards and I got all of these sample libraries and all these really cool sounds, and I got a mic now, and I got this and I got that. But before it wasn't that, like a lot of you guys know, this mic was specifically, or if you've been in the Friday stream, you've seen my microphone. That mic is not for my songs. That mic is only for the stream. It's just so that I can talk during the the production streams that we do on Fridays. I've never sang into that mic for lyrics for a song. All of my song lyrics are recorded on my cell phone and then Google Drived, Google Drived it to myself. Um, and because of the vocals being sang into a mic, I have to do maybe a little bit more things to them to get them to sound palatable. But I wouldn't have to develop those skills and that cool ingenuity and creativity if I had a really great mic and vocal booth off the bat. Same thing can be said for my keyboards. Now I have so many keyboards, right? I can scroll through a wheel and bring up strings, or I can scroll through a wheel and bring up like a cool saxophone. And then I can go over to my Roland Gaia SH01. I can go to my Akai, drum MPC. I can have my Medifier for this. I can have my Yamaha Rephase for that. My MX61. I can use vocoder with my microKORG. But there is vocoder in a lot of my songs before I got the microKORG. For example, the only song that has vocoder in it, even sub, that I used the microKORG for was Close Down. Close Down is the only one that uses that. Everything else uses like a kind of convoluted form of vocoding within FL Studio with native instruments. And sorry, not native instruments, which is a completely different company, with native synthesizers that are inside of Fruit Loops that was made by ImageLine. So I think somehow limiting yourself, whether it's by resources or by knowledge, does require you to kind of make up the difference in really cool, creative ways, And I think having all the resources and all the knowledge and all of the skill can sometimes get in the way of, it can kind of get in the way of developing a sound, a cool sound. This is maybe a hot take and it's divisive, and I'm not going to die on this, so I'll back off of it if anybody has. Somebody debated me for 2 hours on it, I'd back off that hill, but I do feel like a lot of people's sounds and identity and art doesn't necessarily come from knowledge and education as much as it comes from other things that are intrinsically them. Maybe it comes from their life experiences or their desires or interests or the things that they're afraid of or the things that they don't like. I think that that's where people's identity and their art comes from. And knowing that, all I'm really concerned with in my art is identity. I'm not so much concerned with being able to impress people with how fast I can play or what kind of weird, Coltrane change I can play. I'm more so trying to have identity in music. So, that being said, that is why my personal investment in musical education and formal, not musical education because I am being educated, but formal musical education, classical musical education. That's why my investment in that has been so low, because my goal has usually been identity and expression and not so much technical skill and prowess. What a bunch of boring rubbish. Anyways, not being able to communicate with other musicians but also to play music more fluently, says even sub, as a benefit to music education. That is one thing that I will wholeheartedly agree with. Being able to communicate with other musicians, sorry, let me back up. being able to communicate with other classically trained musicians is uh, something that maybe you want to get a formal education if you want to be able to do that. Now, I'm not going to say being able to communicate with other musicians is something that being trained classically will teach you. That's like saying learning how to speak English is going to help you speak to other humans. Well, it only helps you speak to other humans if those other humans also are fluent in English. So, for example, a lot of musicians today, very, very accomplished ones, and successful ones, and fulfilled ones, do not know music theory. And I can talk to them just fine. We've kind of developed our own language about how to do certain things. Um, it's like SoundCloud speak is a thing. It's like everybody on SoundCloud has a whole terminology and jargon and vernacular they've developed to discuss and communicate their skills that aren't necessarily things that you go to like Berklee School of Music and learn about. It's more of like a regional thing. But if you're going to try to like communicate with a bunch of jazz musicians and classically trained musicians, yeah, you should probably get like a formal education because they're probably going to use a lot of, that terminology. Um, I definitely think my experiences inform my art the most. Not anything I learned from it, just says Lindsay. Yeah, I feel the same. I disagree. I think music theory can develop a more defined sound because you know exactly what you're doing, especially when you break the rules. Stevie Wonder is a master of this. I agree with you that Stevie Wonder is a master of that. However, the reason that I would never step into the pool, or not say never. I'm not gonna say never because I'm not gonna die in this hill. The reason that I'm a little hesitant to step in the pool of saying that theory can help develop a more defined sound is because I think that is in the context of theory. I think there are a lot of people with very defined sounds that don't necessarily know theory. And so while theory can help define a sound, so can not having theory. So do you see what I'm saying? Like living alone, being an only child can help define a sound. Yeah, like a lot of things can help define a sound, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to recommend them to somebody, Moving to Los Angeles defined bits and pieces of my sound, but I'm not going to tell somebody that moving to Los Angeles is going to define their sound or they should consider moving to Los Angeles to do so. I think that it's just a more personal thing. It's a more personal thing. And I think that if you know music theory, again, it's kind of like if you speak the same language as all the other people, you're going to understand the same. You're going to understand the same things as them. So if somebody came up to me and they said they played a Duke Ellington record, and they played a Herbie Hancock record, and they played a Thelonious Monk record, they said, this is okay. So obviously I know who those three artists are, but just let's pretend that I don't. Let's just pretend that I'm like some random that you got off the street, and you're like, listen to these three jazz records. You, as somebody who knows theory or just knows these artists, knows what they're doing and their different sounds and their approaches. But you play for somebody else, and they're like, oh, cool, three jazzy, records, I suppose. They sound great, cool. But those other people aren't going to necessarily understand the theoretical, or even hear the theoretical identity in them. I think that a lot of people, you can have a defined sound theory or not, for sure. I think that it's just interesting. Oh man, this is bleeding into a completely different conversation. I think it depends so much on the person says. It depends so much on the person says Isidore, which is absolutely true. The rules were made by people who weren't tethered to them in the first place, so it's useful to think far. Umbe, always well spoken. Always well spoken. If money location wasn't an issue, would you want an education from Berklee School of Music or any other specific school? Says Liana. Like if Berklee were down the block, and it were free to go, would I get a education from Berklee? I would heavily consider it. Yeah, Liana, because why not? I don't know, right? If I can walk there in 15 minutes, or I could just get on a quick train, I'll take one course, whatever that means, one or two courses a semester or something like that. Why not? Because knowledge is dope, and if knowledge is free, I'm all for it. Um, but I would see taking, I would see that as the same way that I see like doing Japanese on Duolingo. It's not really something that I'm thinking is going to benefit or um, steer my career, but I definitely will use it. So I probably will learn some stuff at Berkeley that I would use. Um, in the same way that Japanese on Duolingo, I've definitely used a lot of Japanese. Okay, that's a really good question though. I was named after Thelonious Monk. That's actually really cool. That's dope. You got some cool parents. I don't know that my parents know who Thelonious Monk is. If they do, they've hid that from me. The main benefit of music school is the connections you get, says Even Sub. Yeah, absolutely. If you said that even sub to me, if you said that to me in 2015, I would have argued that. I would have argued against you. But I think the main benefit of going to any school is connections. Now, there are certain things like law school or med school where it's like, yeah, you probably absolutely need this piece of paper in order to function in the industry. They need to make sure that you're educated. But for most things, especially in the arts, it's just like paying for network connections, which in the end, depending on what school you're going to, it's paying a lot. It's paying a lot of money. It's a gamble if that's what you're if that's what you're doing. I think that I've made a like almost scary amount of music connections in my life just from like you know working, I guess. I think an education like that would be great and ideal for someone who wants to be an industry mainstream level in-house on working on musician as a producer. Diz, yes, beautiful, beautiful words from Diz. Absolutely. It's just like maybe you should go to art school. Maybe you should go to Cal Arts if you want to like work for Pixar. If you want to be like, I hate the term industry cog because it has like a bad connotation, like being a cog in the machine. But I'm going to use the term cog. Just know that when I'm using the term cog, I'm not meaning it in a negative way. I'm meaning it more in just like a collaborative way. Like if you want to go work for Disney or you want to work for DreamWorks or you want to go as a musician, there are a lot of things you can do too. You can go be like a studio tech for like Def Jam or something. A studio tech for Def Jam would be a hilarious job. But you can go be like a studio tech for Def Jam. That is an industry job where your name technically will be in some liner notes on some records, but you don't have like fans or anything. Nobody's really coming to see you. You are a cog in a label organization. And so if you're trying to get a music business job, I actually would recommend having a music education because like even Sub said earlier, it's mostly network connections. And if you're trying to get a music business job, your entire job is based off of connections. So I would say definitely go to a music school if you're like, I want to be A&R for Capitol Records, or I want to be talent management. Oh, I want to be an artist manager. Maybe get some type of education if you want to do that. But if you're just trying to be an artist, if you're just trying to be like me or something, don't be like me. That's case in point. But if you're trying to be like an independent artist, yeah, education may not be the best use of your money. Keep in mind, I'm talking about money here. If you can get an education for free, if your parents are really wealthy and they're just going to send you to art school, like quite a few of my friends have had that luxury, then do it. By all means, do it. A friend of mine, Guppy, is going to Berkeley right now, and it's because like their parents can afford to send them to Berkeley. So if you have a free ride, just go for it. I mean, why not? But if you're a musician and you don't have a bunch of money and you're trying to be a little bit more logical about that money, I would say putting that money into higher education is actually maybe not the best. Maybe not the best use of that money. Maybe take that money and invest it in yourself in other more immediate ways than the long game of, going to Berkeley. I almost said enlisting in Berkeley as if it was like an army or something like that. I wish I could get free arts education, says Jesse Dorsey. I mean, I'm gonna say this, Jesse, and yes, it's not a sub. It's not a complete substitute, but I had $5 in a dream. Remember when I talked about moving to LA with like how much did I have? I think I had $250. In Arizona, that's a lot of money. In Arizona in 2015, $250. Ooh, that gets you a nice weekend. In LA at the time, not so much. So I didn't have a lot of money, but what little money I did have, I invested it into my move out here and a lot of hard work. And I do think that, um, did I get a free art education? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If we're just thinking about the amount of money that it took me to come out here and exist out here and go to shows and make those friends, make those connections, all that stuff, like, I don't even want to see that amount of money. I don't want to see what it was. I don't want to see what it was. But I know it's in the thousands. But it still pales in comparison to whatever I would have spent going to a music school. And then at the end of going to that music school, I would have still had to move out here and then struggle anyway. So, in my personal path, I skipped a step. But not everybody's path is the same, and some people's path that's a necessary step to make. You don't need music school to learn this stuff. Everything that's online. This is true, even sub. Yeah, there's technically a free art education. I know some people are charging for things. Like if you go on YouTube, somebody's like, buy my buy my lessons where I teach you how to go from dunce to Chopin in 6 weeks or less. And they have their own personal thing where it's like you pay for these like MP4s where they're teaching people or they have a master class. There are ways to pay, but there are also actually a ton of completely free like music lessons on YouTube of like teaching you the difference between chords, stuff that I don't even know, stuff that would benefit me, I'm sure, if I learned them. I just haven't really been invested in such. But you can technically get an art education for free. It's going to be different, obviously, than just enlisting in like a university, but with hard work, determination, you can get stuff for free. For example, that book that I checked out of the library that's still in my home today, I flipped to the end of it because I don't know, I'm a hooligan. And I flipped to the end of it and I was looking at some of the stuff they were talking about and I was like, this is really complex, advanced stuff. And this book was free. I mean, it's a library, so everything's free. You just have to bring it back. I haven't brought it back, so I might have a wild late fee by now because I checked that book out last year. Let's talk music. Baby? I could teach people music. I couldn't. That was a joke. That was a joke. Please don't ask me to teach you anything, ever. There are a few core areas, says Jesse, where I think institutional knowledge and connections are useful. I suppose I should have said free arts schooling. Word. Institutional knowledge and connections are useful. Absolutely. Connections are always useful. A lot of the benefits of... Guys, I'm only here because of connections, okay? It's not true. I'm not here in my bedroom streaming on YouTube because of connections. But when you think about stuff like looking at my tours, just look at my last 3 tours, right? Where like one was with Slow Magic, and it was like the U.S. and Canada. I only got that tour because I was connected, right? It's not like Slow Magic just hit like, I don't know, SoundCloud roulette and it pulled up my name and then they were like, oh hey, you want to go on tour with me? It's like I got on that tour because I was connected to the people on that tour. Like me and Slow Magic were close, and it was because I had done work years prior with / for Slow Magic. When I got that tour in Japan, it was because I had been shopping to labels and building relationships with Japanese companies specifically since 2015. And so in 2018, I finally got to go to Japan on tour. In 2019, when I went to Korea with Patlock to open for Patlock, it was because I had built a relationship with Patlock and I had built it, so connections are like, people will say a lot of times, especially in art business or in art careers, that it's like, it's who you know, which is true. But if you take some of the venom out of that statement, it's not necessarily like a bad thing about it being who you know. If anything, that should be an empowering thing, because you don't have to be an amazing musician, some incredible phenomenon in order to get opportunities. You just have to be determined and have a good work ethic, and you can build connections. So anyways, My exposure to this was actually kind of backwards. My uncles are all classically trained musicians, session musicians, and at one point, legit label people, says Jesse. Word up. They sat me down and taught me how to transcribe and then said, now go listen to the radio and learn it all. Oh, classically trained growing up with Motown era. More of them definitely into it. Okay, word up, word up. I feel you. I feel you, Jesse. Not from experience, obviously, because I don't have any classically trained musicians in my family. But that is definitely a different, like almost like cellar door entry into music education. That is definitely a luxury that a lot of us do not have. Having like the first time I even heard the term session musician, Jesse, was when I was one. I actually asked, like somebody told me that they wanted me to come down to the studio to help out with some stuff. They needed a keyboard player, and I went. God, sorry. Anyways, I went down there and did some work. And all things considered, it was a learning experience. I got to make a lot of friends. I also got to learn a lot about like what is okay and what isn't okay. Music industry stuff. But somebody told me that I was a session musician, and I was like, "What's a session musician?" And they were like, "You've been doing it for 6 weeks." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I didn't know that there was a name for this. I didn't know other people did this. I thought I was just like a ringer or something." Um, but anyways, Jesse says you got to put in the work. Everyone will put in differently and get different results, but you're still doing the work. Absolutely, absolutely. You got to put in the work. Definitely putting in the work over here. Definitely putting in the work. But yeah. I'm sorry. I like got like all misty eyed thinking about the session musician. When I was here, guys, the specific block from like 2015 to 2017, which does not sound like a long time, right? It's just 3 years. 15, 16, and then maybe halfway through 17. It's about 2.5 years. Doesn't sound like a long time, guys, but my career changed and evolved so many times in just that 2.5 years that sometimes I'll think back on specific things and I'm like, oh, dang, remember when I was like at such and such with that person? That doesn't even make sense to my career right now. Like, I don't know if you guys know who Masego was, but there was like a time where like me and Masego were like around each other quite a bit. And there was a time where me and Melanie Faye actually worked on music. And it's like sometimes I think back to those times and I'm like, wow, I was doing everything. I think I was just trying so hard to like stay busy and work. And then in 2017, things started like going okay. 2017 is like when the like slow magic thing happened. 2018 is when the Japan thing happened. 2019, I started working on that game. Like I was in Korea. 2020, the world stopped, so no one's doing anything. But I'm still working on that game. I'm like working with Discord now, and so it's like, yeah. I just remember in 2015 there was a lot of like me like shaking hands with somebody and looking at this person being like, "Yo, you're so and so." Like, "Oh my God, you're this person. Ah, you're Post Malone," and like thinking to myself like, "Wow, I'm doing something." And then like I would do like 10 more things in my career, and then I would look back on that experience and go like, what was I doing there? Why was I talking to Borgor? I made a song, guys, that came out on Bygor. Isn't that weird? Like Bygor like posted it and like got direct support from Bygor. It wasn't under Omniboy. It was under a side project that I was working on. But it was like so many things that didn't make sense, or like being in like 12th Planet. I don't know if anybody in the stream knows who 12th Planet is, but they're like a big like grimy trap dubstep guy. It was like being in his apartment, like him like talking to me about music and like actually helping me in a few ways, and like Danny United helping me in a few ways, and just being like, oh, these people are like Daedalus being like a huge help, and like playing shows with him and talk. It's just like if you just work hard and you throw yourself head first into like an industry, I do think that people will eventually see you and bring you into spaces or put you in front of people and help you out. But you do have to work pretty hard. Or you don't. Or you just have to be pretty wealthy and attractive. Then that also helps. But also being a really good, being a hard worker is what has worked for me. And it's weird. The one thing that I will say is like, just don't get too married to anything. I'm talking specifically if you're trying to be like me, which you shouldn't. But if you're just trying to be like a solo artist that makes their thing and hopefully can have some opportunities like go on some tours, release some albums, play some shows, Try not to get too married to anything. If you get to meet somebody and you get to work with that person, um, and then that, just be okay with that eventually maybe breaking off and you going somewhere else and meeting somebody else and working with that person. Then be okay with that, like, breaking off. Just go with the flow, basically, being the thing. Obviously, in LA, the flow is a little bit stronger. The tides are a little more rapid, but yeah, just go with the flow and try not to get too upset when things like fall through or when relationships fall apart. Noise let Skrillex crash at their place for a while before he made his big break. I have a really, really funny response to that, Liana, but there's no way that I can say it without it sounding like a weird, gross flex or anything. So I'm gonna just not say it. But similar things, similar things have happened. This says the Post Malone flex. I didn't want to say Post Malone's name. I just felt like because there was a bunch of names that were floating through my head, and I was intentionally not saying them, and I was like, oh, I'll let one out because I don't particularly care for Post Malone. He's cool. I just don't, we're not close or anything. Okay, Isaac. Hello, Isaac. Um, why should people not be like you? Says Lindsay. Oh, that's like a 3 hour answer. That's like a 3 hour answer. I've just done. I've That's a long answer. I would hope that in the same way of like a parent having kids, I would hope that when you're looking at your kids, you're like, God, I hope that they don't do the things that I did. I hope that they can shortcut them. I hope that they like don't struggle and like have a better. I hope that they don't waste time here. I hope that they don't like let this person take advantage of them. I would hope that they don't do those things. But like a parent and their children, usually your children end up doing it anyway. So, yeah, I've definitely had like a few situations that are like regrettable, where it's like if I hadn't known better, I wouldn't have let that happen. But you know, things happen. Sometimes things be happening. But yeah, be yourself. Be yourself. Don't be like me. Also, don't be crushed the first time you get screwed over. The first time you get screwed over, just laugh. Please laugh, guys. The first time you get screwed over, just laugh and chill. Be like, all right, cool, I got it. And then just don't let it happen again. Maybe don't let it happen twice. If it happens twice, I'm sorry. But if it happens once, that's super okay. If anything, that's good. It needs to happen once. It's like, I had the theory. My friend Erica hates that theory, but I think Erica and me disagree on a lot of things, so that's fine. But I always feel like everybody needs to have one pretty powerful argument or fight. When I say fight, I'm implying physicality. One fight, just so that they know that that's a thing that can happen. My friend Erica was like, no, I don't think anyone should ever get hit, ever, which is cool. That's a cool, and I respect that. I respect that philosophy. My philosophy is the exact opposite. I think everybody should get hit at some point, just so that they know that's the thing that can happen. Because I think there's a lot of people that walk through life thinking that this is a analogy kind of, but a lot of people walk through life thinking that they can't get hit because it's never happened before, and then by the time it actually happens, it kills them because they were not prepared for it. They didn't know that was something that could go on. People will get to like 27 years of age, and then somebody will try to fight them, and that 27-year-old will go, yeah, right, do your best. And then they'll get hit in the jaw, and then they're dead now because they didn't know that could happen. And I'm just saying, I would like everybody to just, maybe get like socked a couple of times so they go like, oh crap, people out in the world can hit me. And I mean that for everything. I would like for everybody like to get robbed once just so that they go, oh, I should probably be a little bit more careful. Maybe don't put my wallet there when I'm on, the blue line. Somebody should probably get lied to a few times just so that they know, oh, people can be deceiving. Okay, all right, I get it. I don't think that people should be devastated, but I do think that people should get a taste of dismay at every juncture in their life. And I think in my music career, I've gotten a hearty helping of dismay and like people robbing me or stealing me from me or something like that. music industry beats out finance bros at screwing people over. Oh my god, Jesse. Yes, it does. Because the thing is, at least finance bros know what's at stake. Music people have no idea. If you're just getting into the music industry, sometimes, you know what's weird, guys? If you're... Something that you usually have to ask yourself, and I don't mean just as a musician, as a creator, as somebody who's creating content or creating art, sometimes you won't be making any money, and you'll think, oh, it's because my art isn't really worth a lot of money yet. I have to grow or I have to become whatever. But something that you need to keep in mind is somebody usually is making money off of your art. So it doesn't really have anything to do with your art being quality or worth anything. Even if you're broke and you're putting your music out there, somebody is profiting off of you. You just have to figure out a way to make that person you. You can profit off of just about any piece of art, you know. Just try to make sure that you're at least, you know, number 4 in line getting the money from that. Something really, really, and I won't get too deep into this because this turns into like an anti-label talk, which I don't want to do the are labels good or are labels bad conversation. At least not now. Not 2 hours into the stream, but I'm gonna wait for this plane pass. I didn't even do my medley today. Oh, that's not a plane. That's a garbage truck. Oh, it's a garbage truck and a plane. Jesus. Oh, what are you doing? Is it that one? Yeah, they all have different sounds. Anyways, I don't want to have the pro versus anti music label talk right now. So all I'm going to say is one of the most. Ooh, I could just talk about things that were demystifying. Ooh, and then I'm gonna turn this around on you guys. Oh, remember my Jeopardy game where I used to ask people in the stream questions? Well, we're not doing that now, but I am gonna ask you guys one question after I answer it. Yo, what's he doing? Okay, so one of the biggest shocks to me. One of the biggest, I think there's like 10 of them, but one of the biggest shocks to me entering the music industry as a participant and not as a spectator or as an audience member or whatever, is this thing that would happen with, oh, thanks even sub. Thanks even sub. Oh, I appreciate that, because you know what they are. So somehow that bit of flattery hits a little different. Okay, so I remember being a kid. When I was a kid, I listened to music, but not really on my own accord. I listened to music because my sisters listened to music. For those of you that don't know, I have a really big family, a lot of siblings. I grew up more around my sisters than I did my brothers. So I would listen to whatever they listened to. So my sister's into hip-hop. My sister's into pop. My sister's listening to TLC or something like that. I'm like, okay, I like this. Wasn't making decisions for myself, but one thing I do remember is seeing artists. Bye, Diz. Thanks so much for being in the stream. Hey, Mance. I'm just like trading Diz for Mance. Okay, so I remember looking at artists and seeing them have like big, like houses, MTV cribs. They're showing me their 9 cars. They got the dopest jewelry, cool clothes. And I'm thinking to myself, this is because their music is so good that they're making this much profit from their music. And then I would think that's money forever. That's forever money, baby. And then I moved to LA. I'm gonna skip a lot of stuff, right? I'm gonna skip a lot of stuff, but I moved to LA. I meet some artists, and I see some artists, and I see some artists that I thought were millionaires, and then I see them and I learn that they're not millionaires. They're doing better than I am. They're not living in their car, but they're not doing that great, you know. And I'm like, how does that make sense? How can that work? How does that work? And I learned one thing that was important is owning your music is a big thing. You know, a lot of people, myself, that didn't know any better, were like, oh, Michael Jackson has a bunch of dope records, so Michael Jackson makes money off of his records. When Michael Jackson dies, his kids now get all the money from his records. This isn't necessarily true a lot of the times. Owning your music is not something that happens just because you made it. You can make a lot of music and own none of it. For example, I won't say the name of the company, but a lot of you know that I have worked with recently a company and I've made music for them. I don't own that music anymore. That's not my music. That's their music now. I made it. They paid me. Now it's theirs forever. And anything, if that music gets put in a movie or whatever, I don't see any of that. So there's a difference there. Just because I made something doesn't mean I own it. Just because somebody necessarily goes and listens to Venomade on Spotify doesn't necessarily mean that I get 100% of those profits. So that's the little thing that I learned when it came to like artists who were really big suddenly being broke and you being like, how is that possible? Um, Sometimes it is just mismanagement of funds, but a lot of times it's because one, they don't own their masters, they don't own their music, and labels, labels sometimes. Okay, all right. I'm gonna say this, and I do need to move on, guys, because I can already see myself getting into like this weird label talk, and I don't want to get there. Labels will sometimes, in the past, labels have bought things for their artists, right? Like you get a signing bonus, and the label will be like, "We're gonna put you in this house. We're renting you this house. We're getting you this car. We're getting you these things." And your money's going to make us back our money, you know, our investment on you. I mean, your music's going to make us back our investment on this house. So we're going to buy you this house, buy you this car, buy you these things, buy you this jewelry, and then your music is hot right now, so it's going to pay for it. And then if the music doesn't pay for all of it, or if the music barely pays for all of it, now this person is in debt. Now this person is just owned by this label. They've been signed for a year to make, you know, 5 albums, and they have to just keep pooping out music to just get out of this contract. And then even after they get out of the contract, they don't own any of that poppin' music. So basically, an artist would get signed to a label. The label would buy them a bunch of stuff to create this image for them, you know, pay for this dope music video, get them this dope car, so everybody looking at this artist thinks, whoa, they're popping off. They're a big artist, so I should probably hop on board. It's kind of like a weird trick to make an artist seem bigger than they actually are, because people are more inclined to invest in something that seems big or already cool in the mainstream than they are to take a risk on something small. So conversation for a different time. People will listen to this artist because, ooh, they're popping. And maybe it's a one-hit wonder. Maybe they didn't, you know, have the juice to last forever. And then they end up upside down in like a really weird label agreement where they have to keep making music just in order to make enough money to get out, to fulfill the contract. And then once they get out, now they can make music where they're actually making all the money from it. But guess what? They're not popping anymore. So they put out an album and people are like, I kind of like the new, you know, Spanky. The new Spanky mixtape is okay, but man, his earlier stuff was hitting. And then they'll go back and they'll stream or buy the earlier stuff, listen to, publish, you know, license the earlier stuff, and none of that money is going to Spanky. The new Spanky is like, whatever. Let's listen to the old. And that's a thing that happens so much. It happens so much, guys. There are so many artists who you guys look at today, right now, that you think, oh my God, look at the money. Look at how successful they are. And those artists are, I'm just saying they're not as rich as you think they are. There's a lot of theater going on. And that was something that when I learned that, it was like, it was very scary to me. Because I was meeting artists that were way bigger than I am today. Way bigger. Like, playing, you know, like, nationwide tours. They got their albums in physical stores. They're doing, you know, pop-ups and meet and greets. Huge artists that financially were doing worse then than I am now, and I'm not rolling in cash now. So that was um, that was very upsetting. That's a bit of free music education that I got by moving to LA. Is like meeting people and just going, oh my god, you're like the legend, and then like seeing what's actually going on and realizing like, oh, things aren't so hot for you, or all that time that I thought that I was buying these things and that money was going to you, turns out it wasn't. You've never seen a red cent from me. I've just been supporting the label that signed you. Anywho, hello Bacon Boy. Life is a big circus. Jesse says, Steve Albini, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, wrote an article about this in 1993. The title was Some of Your Friends Probably Already This. Oh, man. For people who want to explore this one on me, I'm talking about. Word up. Yeah, please. Please. Anybody who's trying to enter music industry should probably know that. It has fueled a lot of my distrust of labels. And by the way, labels do a lot of good. Managers do a lot of good. The industry and establishment do a lot of good. Just because you're signed to a label doesn't mean you're being screwed by the label. That's not what that means. I'm just saying that I have developed a distrust for labels. So while I have worked for them, I have done some work for like Universal Music Group. Um, as far as being signed to them, I know what would happen to somebody like me, an artist like me especially. I know what would happen to me, so I just kind of steer clear of them. I am very fortunate. Oh man. There's an artist who I can't say her name. I can't say her name because I'm leaving this stream up and I don't want to get in any trouble. But there is an artist who's really, really dope and I like a lot. She's dope and I like her a lot. And she's doing visibly very well. Because you go to her Spotify and it's like, dang, you got like, oh my god, 1 million, Spotify monthly listeners or whatever. And it's like, oh, she's on this tour. Oh my god, she has a song with so and so. Oh my god, these features are sick. Oh, I just saw your thing. You were on Colors. Oh my god, Vivo loves you. She does a lot of stuff. Me and her are kind of close. We've recently had like a weird, I don't want to say it's a falling out. We're still good. We're still good. But some weird like music industry label stuff have caused me to kind of like keep at a distance from her. But anyways, the point that I'm making is she has a lot of stuff. Like her numbers are crazy. Her follower count's crazy. Like the revenue rolling in is wild. It's mad. And then you look at me, where my revenue and my like follower count and my activity is quite a bit lower. But because because I own my music and I'm making 100% of like if somebody buys my song. I mean, of course, like iTunes is taking whatever cut they get, but I'm making 100% of my music revenue because I own my masters. I'm actually making more money off of my music than she is because when her music makes money, they're paying a producer, they're paying a label, they're paying people who own part in the music, they're paying the feature on the song, they're paying a lot of people, and she's somewhere towards the end of that line. So she's actually making less money from her music than I am. But if two people just looked at us standing side by side, they'd be like, yo, I love her. As far as him, who the heck is this Brokey? I've never heard of him before. It's really weird. It's weird. It's all theater, guys. Anyways, you definitely don't want to know who this is, Lindsay. You already know who this is. Jesse says that was one of the things my uncle taught me. Be the producer. Be the songwriter. Yeah. Yeah. Master P was... Oh my god, I love Master P. Anyways, I'm going to finish your comment, Jesse. Master P was amazing for this in hip-hop. He really pioneered a model that taught people how to go around the label effects. Yes, he did. Especially ever seen crazy stuff like Prince not being able to use his birth name in his music. Yeah, guys. We've seen this so many times. A lot of people don't like dig deep under it. They're just like, oh, Prince is a symbol now. That's weird. If you really dig deep, like, you gotta like just make sure to own your stuff. Just because your stuff isn't maybe like popping or going wild, you have to remember that the people that are popping and going wild, not all of them, because some people truly do own their stuff. But remember that whole funny debacle about how like Taylor Swift didn't own her masters, but Skeeter did? Scooter, sorry. I called him Skeeter. Who's Skeeter? That's Doug, right? Anyways, Scooter Braun owned her stuff. And she was like, give me back my masters. And all of her fans were like, I don't know who you are, Scooter, but give her back her masters. She's a queen, and this is insane. I can't believe it. This is what's happening. The patriarchy. And everybody was really mad. And I was sitting on the side, like, laughing, because I was like, you guys, Taylor Swift isn't some special case. A lot of big artists don't own their masters. So everybody was, like, riling up over Taylor Swift. I was like, yo, I can make you a long list. I can make you a toilet paper roll list of names of people that are super poppin' that you love and you think are like the GOAT, and they do not own their masters. Their masters are owned by like Def Jam, or their masters are owned by Sony or Universal. Like, you gotta. The point that I'm making is when things are bigger, there's more hands in the pot, typically speaking. If you're listening to a Drake song tomorrow, your money isn't only going to Drake. Now, Drake is making a lot of money, so he's fine, he's taken care of. But the money is getting split so many different ways, guys. But if you go and listen to... let's say Thundercat, because he's still... I mean, he's not independent, but he's smaller, right, than somebody like Drake. You listen to Thundercat, the money's still getting split a lot of ways, but not as many ways. Maybe like only 5 ways, right? You listen to my song Groom Cake, the money is going to me. The money's getting split one way. It's going to me. You know, obviously Spotify or whatever DSP is taking their cut, but I'm getting the money from it. And so for that stream or for that purchase, for that album purchase, I would be making more money for that song or that record than Thundercat would be making for that song or record, because there's a difference in the investment. There's more people invested. And so when people are getting invested in your thing, guys, they're going to want a return on their investment. This is true for anything. This is even true for games, right? Like if you're making a video game and people come in and they invest, they produce the game, they're going to want to make sure they make their money back before you make yours, because they're like, screw you, I'm the reason that you were able to do this. Pay me back. And it makes perfect logical financial sense. But you just got to think about that a lot when it comes to an artist being big. So just because you see an artist that is everywhere, physically visible, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing so much better than your other artists that you know. Or just because you see an artist and they got a new car or their house seems big, it doesn't mean that it's a one-to-one, guys. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. And labels will buy houses. Labels will buy cars for artists. It has happened. It has happened a lot. Okay. Anywho, Umbe says, is Brainfeeder better than other labels? I'd hope so. Flylo seems chill. Okay, so Flylo is chill. Flylo is, at the end of the day, still a businessman. And so I'm not going to say what I know about Flying Lotus or my experience with Flying Lotus, but I will say, at the end of the day, Flying Lotus is a businessman, and you can take that and contextualize it whatever way you want to. But Brainfeeder, for example, oh my god. I really wish that I could have, like, anonymity. I wish I could say a lot of the things that I would like to say about music industry and the people in it without screwing myself over. But anyways, Brainfeeder is a good label, and I love a lot of the Exxon. Obviously, Thundercat's really good. Flylo is really good. Daedalus, which was part of the Brainfeeder family for a really long time. That guy's like, I always like jokingly call Daedalus my white OG, because I feel like everybody has like OGs in music industry, but he's my white one. Anyways, he was Brainfeeder person, you know. He has words about Brainfeeder, and you know. Also Igloo Ghost, who, I mean, I've played shows with Igloo Ghost. Like, Igloo Ghost me used to be pretty close, like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years ago. But yeah, Brainfeeder is great. I used to actually really want to be signed to either Brainfeeder or Ninja Tune, because I felt like with the weird avenue my music goes down, those were the only labels that would actually even give me a second glance. I've since, you know, chilled on my pursuit of label support, but those were like the two I was like, oh, it would be a dream for Brainfeeder to give me the time of day. Or it would be a dream for like Ninja Tune to really like invest in me, you know. But Cyber says Daedalus always reminds me of Abraham Lincoln, as he should. He has like that type of style. He has that type of style. Umbe says, a lot of cases it's not entirely that the label is bad, it's more uneven standing between labels and artists. Oh, Jesse, I wish I had you here. Jesse, I wish I had you here, you understand. You'd make a really good like running mate if I was running for music president. It's label's best interest to get as much of your equity as possible, and artists aren't often equipped to understand that things like advances cost them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Labels are not evil. They're just a machine, not necessarily built on. They don't care about you. I used to have a manager. Okay, I didn't have a manager. Oh, this is just a music industry stream. I used to be a part of a group called Two Tone Disco that had a manager. We had several managers over the course of my tenure in the group, but this particular manager told me jokingly, they were making a joke and I took it as a joke, but we later had a conversation about it and they were like, there's some truth to that, but they said a joke where they were like, yo, like you guys are my meal ticket, so I don't have to like the music, I just have to make sure it does well enough so I can eat. You guys will eat too, but I have to worry about my paycheck. And labels can be considered the same thing in that the label doesn't necessarily care about you or your fans or your merch or your art. It's like they care about eating. The label wants a return on their investment plus profit. So if that means dressing you up like this and putting you in these spaces and having your music do this, we'll do that, we'll make more money, then they're going to do it. If that means possibly even putting your reputation and your life sometimes in danger in the process, the label will do it because it's more concerned about the money. It's a machine at the end of the day, it's a machine. If you throw like a TV into a wood chipper, the wood chipper isn't going to go, this isn't wood, here's your TV back, sir. Like, it's going to chip your TV. It's going to tear it to shreds. So a label is kind of the same way. A label is a machine geared on, what it's geared on. And your well-being or mental health or self-worth isn't exactly one of those goals. If that means not releasing your latest album because they don't like the market positioning, they'll just hold on to the album. They'll hold on to the album, Jesse and company. They'll hold on to it. Sometimes until... Oh my god. And you're sitting there looking like a lunatic. Your fans are like, where's the new music? And you're like, I don't know. I legally can't even share with you guys that I do have new music. I kind of just got to sit here and like pony and dance until like, I don't know. They say I'm allowed to start the rollout. It's wild, guys. It's wild, guys. I'm very, very fortunate in that I can come up with a cool musical idea, and if I want to release it in 6 days, I can, whether it's a benefit or a detriment overall to my career. I can make that decision. There isn't somebody lording over me, making me... Anyways, Cyber says, imagine if Omni went to Berkeley. He'd be too powerful. I think I would be in a lot of debt, is what I would be. Oh, crap. I'm not going to read Cyber's next comment out loud. Lindsay says, for some reason, I can't imagine that, Cyber. I met a lot of Berkeley kids, so I don't know why I can't picture it. I have a lot of Berkeley friends, and me and them are... very different. I think my temperament might be a little bit different, but it's all hypothetical, right? Is that why some of the popular artists don't have all the songs in the album which they can reject? Like rejected songs or something? Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not just the label. There's a lot of people that can, whoever is producing or executively producing an album can, go this song out, always just up to the artist, which sometimes... I know can be a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing that the artist isn't in control of every single aspect of the machine, but yeah, I'm gonna move away from this topic now. All I really wanted to say was one of the things that I learned coming into music is that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. Artists that seem like they're popping sometimes aren't necessarily popping. For example, I could invest money, guys. Guys. I have enough money that I can pay rent, and I could also pay for, I don't know, followers on social media, and I could also schmooze and use like business connects to get like a check mark verified on my Twitter account, and then I could pay for a photographer to take photos of me here, there on my Instagram, and I could create the illusion that I'm actually more successful than I. Why is there a fourth garbage truck? Anyways, I could create the illusion that I'm bigger than I actually am. And this really weird thing happens with people, guys, where I don't feel like I need to tell you this, but a lot of people will invest in something just because it seems like it's big. A lot of people will listen to an artist just because it seems like that artist is already successful. A lot of people will eat at a restaurant just because it seems like that restaurant is busy or already packed and popping. A lot of people will stay at people will pile on to a thing that's already doing well. So if I can create the illusion that I'm doing well, more people will pile on. It's like a weird, like, fake it till you make it investment strategy. And it's true with a lot of artists. This discussion is scary, but I appreciate it, says Inbay. I think having my works completely yanked from me would be pretty crushing. You don't say. I'm gonna finish Winter Heart. Slitker? Wow, that does not roll off the tongue for me. But welcome to the stream. Thank you for making the time. Someone unrelated, but as a kid, I made my own board game and someone stole it before I got to even play. That is an amazing story. Wait, Anna, that sounds like a music label. I'm joking. But yeah, Umbe, just be careful. I would say be careful, and if you do get screwed one time, don't get mad. It always, the first time it happens, it's always like, oh my god, what? There are songs that I've made that some of you guys have heard that I don't make a penny from anymore. I don't own them, and it's sad because I love those songs. Sometimes I'll even play them in the stream, but it's like, yeah, I don't own that song. Even if I play it on like a production stream, I'll get a copyright strike because I technically don't own that song anymore. Or never really. No, I did at one point. Even sub says nice 4/4 minor. Oh my god. Oh my god. What the heck is 4/4 minor? Sounds cool. I like the way a lot of music things sound. You know, you said earlier. I know that those are supposed to be read as Roman numerals, so like 2 5s. You said love the 2 5s and 4/4 minors. Some of the numbers are normal numbers. Some of the numbers are Roman numerals. It's wild. It's wild music theory. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's done a few game soundtracks on commission. It's one of those things where your name doesn't always get to go on the final project. For sure, Jesse, for sure. Lindsay was asking what the question was. My question for the people in the stream, since that was something that was like really heartbreaking to me, and I've asked this question during the Jeopardy thing, what is something that you learned, not even necessarily about an art industry, because we're not all artists in here, what is something that you learned, and keep it to one comment, or two. I guess you can keep it to two. One to two comment answer. What is something that you just found out in life, and it was very like demystifying, where you're like, what? Dry cleaners? They use liquid at the dry cleaners? How is it dry then? Like, what is something like that for you? Maybe in adulthood where it's like, what? Who's FICA? Why do I have to pay? Who's taking all this money out of my paycheck? You're welcome for playing 78 Downtown, Easy Door. I knew you were still in the stream. That's why I played it. Even Sub says, if you play your own music, own your stream, you can claim it yourself. It's hilarious and completely broken. Oh. Oh, that is extremely broken. Oh, I'd love to see one of Omni's compositions done by an orchestra. Me too, Jesse. Me too. I'm glad I got into audio engineering so I can use big producer words and pretend I know what phasing sounds like. I know what phasing sounds like. Although sometimes I will confuse it with a flanger. Yeah, sometimes I'll confuse the two. But I do know what it sounds like. They use liquid at the dry cleaners? Yeah, they use liquid at the dry cleaners. Paying for utilities like garbage fee for stormwater free. Okay, whoa. Or stormwater fee. Oh, word peas bean. Ooh, I like this answer. Paying for utilities. I knew, like, when people said utilities, I thought that meant electricity. I didn't know there were other things included. And yeah, I didn't know that I had to technically pay for the garbage man. I didn't know that was taken from me. But it makes sense. It's a good one, Peas. Flanging is just phasing, says Even Sub, but exaggerated. Oh, snap. Okay, well, I'm not crazy then. Turns out, I'm a genius. They are the same thing. Okay, I'm sure I've heard phasing before, but I bet it just sounded nice and I left it alone. Word. Sometimes phasing's good. Sometimes phasing can be used as like a production, not a production tool, but it can, instead of being used as an effect, sometimes it can be used as a tool to remove vocals from a song. A lot of the acapellas that I've used in my remixes, like the Gucci Gang one or the Bad and Bougie one, or the This Is America remix, those were done from phasing. You know, those weren't just studio acapellas that were released out to the world. But that's a conversation for another stream, maybe. I'm sure I've... Oh, wait. Oh, it's cool to know. Oh, yeah, Even Sub's really good in here. I like Even Sub. Okay. But yeah, that was my question. Just like, what's something that maybe you found out about and are like, oh, God, how long has this been going on? And then you realize that it's always been that way. And you're like, oh, I feel like I've been lied to. It blew my mind at my publishing job that their archives were trashed and all the old book files were broken, so sudden reprints were a literal nightmare. We had to scan one book for a reprint. Whoa. Why? Why are the archives so bad? Liana, like, how does that happen? Is it like a software thing, or like maybe some software changed and it like broke all the old files, or were people just trash at their job a long time ago? Like, what happened? This is a hard question, says Lindsay. This is a very easy question for me. I feel like every day I'm demystified by something. For example, health code ratings. I used to think like, oh, this restaurant's clean. But then I learned while working in food service that a lot of times you know when the person's coming to check the restaurant, so you just clean it and make sure that it's really really dope. Then, and then they come and check, and then they give you marks, and then they leave, and then you just go back to being filthy. I didn't know that that was a thing that could legally happen in the world, and turns out it's way more common than you might think. That's something that I was demystified about. And I thought, oh, I just happen to work at a weird brokey restaurant where things are filthy here. But no, most restaurants know when the person's coming. Uh, Most of them know when the person's coming. And so you just prepare for them, and then after they're gone, you gotta get back to whatever you were doing. Leanna says, because the company churned and burned employees, so there was a high turnover. Archiving was an afterthought. Oh. You gotta treat your employees better, guys. I'm a fool. I've definitely isolated vocals a few times now. I guess I just never made the connection with my brain. Says gonna be yeah. That's phasing. That's something called phase canceling. So but it's still phasing technically. I think I'm having trouble because demystifying implies that I was a mystic at some point, and I've kind of always been a realist. Ah, ah, hmm, hmm. I've also been a realist, Lindsay. Oh, how about this, Lindsay? How about this, Lindsay? How about this? I was demystified when okay, let's say I just played Horizon Zero Dawn. Amazing game. Oh, so fun. And then at the end of the game, the credits go up. And, oh, so many names. Some Swedish, some American. I don't know, some neither of those two. And I thought to myself, wow, when I purchased this game, all of these people made money. I used to think that if you went and saw a movie, the the profits that the movie was making were going to all those people you saw in that scroll at the end of the movie. And then later I learned that that was not true. That most of those people had been paid years prior, and we're not seeing one penny now that the movie was like, I don't know, winning Oscars and was like a box office smash. Are you a fan of Leslie Willis? Says Cyber. I actually don't know who that is. Also a YouTuber or a musician or something? Probably a musician. I like the alliteration. Sounds like a Marvel superhero. I didn't think that that was mystic. I thought that I was being a realist, Lindsay, when I assumed that people were making money in the credits. I thought that that was real. I thought that that was a realistic outlook on life, but turns out, it wasn't. I heard Phase and thought of Phase Clan from forever ago. I don't know what that is, Bacon Boy. I don't know what Phase Clan is. Peas Bean says, ooh, that's very true, but the fast food I worked at was surprisingly very clean, and regardless of if people were coming to check in on us. You are part of a very, very small minority, Peas Bean, of clean. And there are some establishments that I know do like hold themselves up to a higher standard. Like In-N-Out Burger has a pretty high standard of cleanliness and also customer service, as does, a place like Chick-fil-A. But these are, these places are diamonds in the rough, and I've only worked in the rough. Wesley Willis was a musician. Oh, word. No, I'll check them out though. I'll check them out. Uh-oh, guys. Uh-oh, guys. Me tummy is doing the grumbly. Are worked at Jimmy John's, and it was a fairly small shop, so cleaning wasn't too hard. I love Jimmy John's, by the way, Peas Bean. I love Jimmy John's. Okay, it was probably the first instance I can think of, but when I used to play video games as a kid, I couldn't get to a certain area. I assumed it was because I assumed because I could see it, it exists. I like that one, Lindsay. I like that. Ooh, you know what I miss? I miss people lying about video games. I miss like going to school and somebody being like, "Oh, you couldn't get in there. If you like do this and then you jump up and down like 5 times, then you go and talk to this person, then you use like 3 potions, and then you restart the game, and then you go to this corner. You can like clip through it, and then you can fly. It turns out you can like get to the top of that mountain in the foreground. I mean, in the background. Yeah, those were lies. But I was also that way, where I thought that you could see something, therefore you could be there. Omni, do you enjoy making instrumental tracks more than tracks with vocals? It's the same. It's the same. Umbe. It's the same. Vocals are just another instrument, to me. So having a track with vocals can also be an instrumental track. Like if you think about something like Thumper, Thumper has vocals in it. And people can sometimes call it an instrumental track. Now songs with lyrics in them are going to require me to actually write, text to get some lyricism going, so that is another thing added. I think it's just making space for things, right, Umbe? If I have a song that's completely instrumental that doesn't have vocals, I have to let the music carry most of the narrative, so the music gets a little bit wilder, it's a little bit different process. But if I'm singing and I'm going to be supplying a very one-to-one narrative in words, then the music doesn't have to do that, so the music can be more chill. But I don't think I have a preference on either of the two. I can tell you this, when I play, I do not like to sing. I don't like singing and performing on keyboard at the same time. So when it comes to performance, I would much rather perform instrumental music than perform music with vocals. I don't know if I've answered your question. You miss liars. I hated people who did that mess. It's so annoying. I love you, Cyber. I don't miss the liars. I miss not having all of the information. Somebody could say that that is some other like interpretation of ignorance is bliss, but I do miss going to school and somebody saying something and then me having to like truly wait to research. And I'm like, I have to wait until I get home and then fire up Tony Hawk Pro Skater and see if what they were saying was true or if I can do it. I couldn't just pull out my phone and go like blank 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 and somebody's like, yeah, we data mined the game, turns out there's only this many characters, and then we also found this many unplayable characters that the developers didn't want us to see and didn't include in the game, but we found them in the code. So what is this? Like, I don't really like that. I don't like data mining. I kind of, if I had to choose between data mining something or living in the mystery, I think I would rather live in the mystery. But I agree with you, Cyber. Those people were very annoying. People lying about games made me waste a lot of time in games trying to unlock certain things that were never there. But I do like, as Jesse says, the feeling of exploration and discovery. Yeah, lies give me such a sense of wonder. I like when people lie to me. Umbe says, I guess I still haven't got my vocal chain down right. So it's such a hassle to do vocals. Hopefully one day I can have as much fun doing vocal tracks. Oh, yeah, mixing vocals, Umbe, is always a disaster. My vocals are mixed pretty differently on a lot of my tracks because the same chain never seems to work on more than one track, and it's always a nightmare. So you're right in that, Umbe, but vocals aren't the only thing that are a nightmare to mix. I have a lot of things in my tracks that are kind of annoying to mix, like the low end. Lindsay says, I really enjoy Little Mystery, the idea that something is underneath and I just have to find it. Me too, Lindsay. Me too. Every game now feels like it devolves into a meta strategies in under the first week. Yeah, Jesse. Take me back. Take me back to the good old golden days. I was so gullible in high school, says Leanna. I'm probably still... What is that? What is that? What is that? Does that sound familiar to anybody? Is that like a notification thing? Or like maybe an alarm? Or like an intro to a game company's logo or something? I don't know. Anyways, that sounds familiar to me. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kiwi. Yes, but I don't know what for. Yeah, that's really weird. What is that, Lindsay? Hit it on accident, but it definitely sounds. Samsung notification. That's why. Because I had Samsung phones for a really long time. One day I'll return to my Samsung clan. Sounds like the notice that the train door is opening. Oh, where do you live, Jesse? You know what my train sounds like when the door's open? Doesn't sound like that. Doesn't sound pretty like that. Okay. Oh, yeah, if it makes you feel any better, I'm extremely gullible this day. Yeah, I'm still pretty gullible. Sounds like a C major 7 says, even sub. Maybe. It does sound like a metro sound. Really? Where do you guys live? While we're on the topic of train sounds, guys, if you can't make it to Japan, just go to a website and look up all the sounds that those trains make. Oh my god. Every train stop has a song, guys. I'm not saying every train has a song. I'm saying every train stop has a song. So if you're blind or you can't speak English or Japanese and a train arrives at a station, all you have to know is the jingle for your particular station, then you can get off. And when I was staying in Japan, I honestly fell asleep. Oh, I miss Japan. And I hate when people say they miss Japan, but I do miss Japan. Anyways, I got on a train and I was going home, or to where I was staying in Japan, and it was 5 a.m. because the trains do this thing where, like, if you stay out at a bar, this trains stop running at like 1 or 1:30. So if you're at a bar to 2 and you get out, you can't take the trains, and the trains start running again at 5. So a lot of people like sleep in the train stations. It's weird, but it's fine. Anyways, I got on my train like 5 and I fell asleep, and I woke up because of the familiar jingle of my station. I was like, oh, I know that song. I have to get off, and it worked. And I got off, and I felt good. I went to this place called like Mr. Donut, I believe, and I got like I gotta go back to Japan. I'm getting woozy now. Woo. Anyways, all the stops have jingles, and all the jingles were actually composed by music composers. They aren't just like some random like ringtone type thing. It's like these things are beautiful, and there's tons of them. But yeah, they're all linked to specific stops. And I miss Japan. Japan feels. Oh, and this might be maybe slightly insulting. So I'm going to be very careful with the cleanup here because I'm going to immediately clean up what I say. Walking around Japan feels like walking around Disneyland. Now, the reason that I say that is because obviously the buildings are smaller, and if you're walking around Disneyland, a lot of the pathways and buildings and doors are a little bit smaller. So there's that obvious aesthetic similarity to Disneyland. Like, things are smaller, things are more compressed and compact. But on top of that, walking around in Japan, maybe it's because of the way I look, but I don't think so because other people seem to be treating each other this way too. People kind of treat you like a ghost. They treat you like you don't exist. People don't really make eye contact with you very often. People don't wave to each other, strangers. You exist as a ghost, and it gives you this sense of loneliness and sadness for sure. Projecting, that's what it gave me. But it also gives you the sense that you can kind of go anywhere and do anything you want. You shouldn't, but it gives you the sense that like you're never really in danger. Like it could be the middle of the night and you're walking down some random street. Like nothing feels dangerous. Everything kind of feels like it's just open to your access. You buy a donut, you get a tea, you do your thing, you mind your business, and the city rewards you for minding your business. I've never been okay, when I grew up, the neighborhood that I grew up in, you were rewarded for minding your business, but you were rewarded with the absence of violence. Like if you saw something going on, you mind your business and nothing happens to you. But in Japan, it's different. It's like you mind your business, you clean up after yourself, you throw away your trash, and nobody is ever gonna like clap you on the back or like dap you up and be like, "Yo, thanks, man. I appreciate you like freaking cleaning up here." But people kind of give you this. There's like this weird tacit understanding and agreement where it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do my thing. You do your thing. we're gonna do our things in peace together, and it's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be super chill, and it is. And I miss that. I think. Also, it's just this is the longest I've gone without leaving the country for a while because usually I would be touring right now, so I'm like getting antsy, and I'm starting to like kind of hate waking up in America every day. Also, this country sucks. Now I want to go back too, says Lindsay, wanting to go back to Japan. Hydrant says, hey, Omni, how are you? I'm doing great. Hydrant, I'm doing great. A little hungry, but I'm doing okay. How are you doing? This marvelous Tuesday, Hydrant. Lindsay says, the opposite of the South. Yeah. No one's in your business. No one's in your business. One time I was on Amtrak, and the door stayed open when it got moving, and I was like, well, I could just jump. Ugh. That same thing happened to me. Except it wasn't an Amtrak. It was a train we have here called the Green Line, and the door stayed open. And if you jump out of the Green Line's an elevated train, so I wouldn't even be jumping out into the floor. I would be jumping out and falling the equivalent of like 4 or 5 stories into the pavement. It'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that did happen. Yeah. And I think that's what I miss about Japan. Japan is an extreme, like if you're somebody that loves being alone, which I understand it isn't for everybody, but if you love being alone, you like exploring alone, you like traveling alone, Japan is like, it's that spot, baby. Now that I've said that, Korea is like the exact opposite. In my experience. Keep in mind, when I'm talking about Japan, I'm talking about Osaka and Tokyo. I'm not talking about every city. And when I talk about Korea, I'm only talking about Seoul. I'm not talking about any other city. But in Japan, it was totally cool to like roll up to a place, eat food by myself, go to a bar, sit by myself, go to like a mall area, walk around by myself. It was so okay to just be alone. Nobody bothered you. You could like squat someplace and like eat. It was chill. Usually squat and eat something like right next to the place you bought the food from, but I'm not gonna get into that. Like it was cool to be alone. In Korea, people do look at you weird if you're just by yourself. You know, if you go into like a restaurant, you get a table by yourself. It is kind of weird. People in Korea, I feel like, are more in groups, which I think is reflected a little bit in the culture, the way clubs work out there. The fact that when you go to a Japanese restaurant, like they have like these little like cubbies where like it's some like ramen places where it's like there's even dividers and you just eat in your like little like hole. And then you go to eat in Korea and it's like Korean barbecue where everybody's around this table where there's like a bunch of like dope entrees and there's the fire in the middle. Seems more communal. And so as somebody that does a lot of things alone, Japan worked for me. And as somebody that does a lot of things alone, I was kind of weird. I was seen as a little bit weirder in Korea. And so I kind of tagged along with a few friends. But anyways, Cyber says, I heard in Korea Google Maps is severely nerfed, so you kind of need someone to help guide you. How true is that, Omni? Okay. Korea... You know how a lot of streets are a lot of cities are a gridded out system in the US? You know, like LA, for the most part, works on a grid. Arizona kind of works on a grid. Manhattan works on a grid. Chicago, for the most part, works on a grid. Grids, you know. Seoul is the opposite of a grid. I didn't see one straight street while I was there. And there's also a lot of really small streets, like really small, not one-way streets, but just streets that only a car can fit on. And like if another car starts coming, you have to like pull up literally like next to a building so the car can get by. Really, really small, windy streets. And a lot of those streets just don't come up on Google Maps for whatever reason. So I don't know if it's nerfed, but it feels like one, you're working with an outdated map that doesn't show all the streets, and two, it also feels like when you move, just don't rely on it. It would be better to just look at a map and have landmarks. Just go by landmarks. I would say use that instead of Google Maps in Korea. That is really weird that other people had that problem. I actually thought something was wrong with my phone. Because for a lot of you guys, you know, I have a Google phone. Right now I'm streaming on a Google Pixel. So I was like, it shouldn't be doing this. Maybe something's wrong with my service. But you saying that makes me realize it must be just widespread. It's just, anybody that tries to use Google in Korea, I guess. I want that alone experience. It's I want that. The alone experience is dope, says Isidora. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Uh, oh God. Anyways, I do stuff alone here in the before times, but I feel like people assume you're lonely and pity you, says Lindsay. Yes, 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 yes. I mean, here, I would say that America as a whole is like, if I'm drawing a weird, wonky scale, where Japan, as far as like being alone is cool, is number 10, and Korea is a 1. I would say America exists somewhere in the 4 to 6 range, where it's like in the middle. Like, people might look at you and be like, oh, that's kind of weird that they're going to a movie theater alone, but they won't, it's not that big of a deal. People do go to the movies alone out here. Out there, yeah, so extreme. South Korea is very protective of mapping data leaving the country for a lot of probably really valid reasons. Oh, word up, word up. I get that. That makes sense. I mean, cacao definitely is a thing though out there. You know something interesting to me, Jesse? I'll say this, then I'll be done kind of talking about Korea. Hold on, let me read Cyber's thing first. There is some kind of privacy act in Korea that prevents real-time map updates, apparently, so the maps in Google are subpar on purpose. Oh. Oh. Yes, you're right, Lindsay, that it also is very regional. Arguably, they're in war with North Korea, so that's cited reason. It's realistically, JS satellite exists, so you can extrapolate where the city centers are. True, true, true. New York people mind their business. Here, they can't walk down the street without someone acknowledging you in some way. For sure, Lindsay. For sure. And even while I'm saying that, no one talks to me in Tokyo, but even when I got to Osaka, people talks to me. So, yeah, you're right. I think it's regional everywhere. And that's why I made the distinction that I was in Seoul. I don't know what the rest of South Korea is like as far as, people being able to go out and do things by themselves. But, you guys remember the Family Guy song about South Korea? I do not remember the Family Guy song about South Korea, Bacon Boy. I'm sorry. Um, it sucks that I feel frowned upon for being alone. Like, I want to be alone sometimes. I want to be alone almost all the time. So, I do really like that about Japan. Although I must say that in the time that I was there, I did start to feel like my soul was dying. Because I've been conditioned to an American thing where it's like, I can be alone as long as I want, but eventually people will need to communicate things with me. People, my the analogy that I always use is on the subway. Wild things happen on the subway, right? You get on the subway, maybe there's a fight. You get on the subway, maybe there's somebody breakdancing. You get on the subway, maybe there's somebody crying. You get on the subway, maybe somebody stinks really bad. Things happen on the subway because it's a melting pot. It's a little mini melting tube. Even when I'm alone and I get on the subway and something wild is happening, a lot of times I will make eye contact with somebody else as a kind of silent communication of like, this is wild, right? Or like maybe somebody's singing like, I don't know, they're doing Take On Me by Aha on an acoustic guitar. And maybe I look at another woman like sitting across from me and we kind of just exchange this look of like, here we go. Like it's another one. This sucks. Or we'll kind of both get up and move to a different part of the train. That happens. In Japan, they don't give you that. There isn't even that little like somebody looking at you and going like, this is wild, right? They don't really, they don't give you that. And that was something that I missed. I like being alone, but it's important for me to be able to communicate with people. Sometimes frivolously, even so, just so that I don't feel like I'm completely alone, right? Even if it's like I'm standing in line with somebody, if I'm standing in a really long line, I might turn to the person behind me and say something, or I might make a comment like, oh, those are nice shoes, or maybe they'll look at me and be like, oh, it's really hot out today, isn't it? Or like, how long is the wait for this? Maybe they're walking by and like, how long have you guys been standing in line? Just that doesn't really happen in Japan. And that is a thing that after like a little over a week, it was starting to wear on me, and I started getting really depressed. But anyways, I've never felt more powerful than when I went to eat ramen and a big acai by myself. And a big acai by myself while wearing Lolita. Yeah, right? People just let you be. Ugh. I do need to return. I do need to return to Japan at some point, play some shows, do some things. But yeah. People in Boston trip me out. Not afraid to talk to you on public transit, but it's always very loud and boisterous. Oh, word. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. These are things, but yeah, the I do very much miss being outside of the country, and both of those countries, Korea and Japan. It's so funny, right? Because being in America, having the education and the experiences that I grew up with, I had a lot of like comparisons to. I mean, I obviously consumed a lot of Japanese stuff, and then when I saw Korean stuff, my brain just went, "Oh, it's not Japanese." I would just kind of evaluate Korea as being not Japan. Like I'm reading manga, and then somebody sells me a manhwa, which is like the Korean manga, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is like different. This isn't Japanese. It's different." Or I'm looking at um, Japanese movie, then somebody's like, "Oh, you should check out Old Boy," and I look at Old Boy, and I'm like, "This isn't Japanese. This is just different. It's just not Japanese." I kind of had this binary system where cool things were Japanese because I was a stupid little weeb, and then Korean things were just not Japanese things. And then, the older I got and the more educated I became on like what Korea's whole thing is and Japan's whole history and Japan occupying Korea and all the messy, like bloody, ugly history that lies in there. And I was like, oh, these are two very distinct places with two very different. Like it's different. It's night and day almost. Like Korea, the way that you can just walk around anywhere with like tattoos, and now in Japan, it's still a problem. Like you can't go into a bathhouse or anything. Okay. Easy says I miss traveling, and now we will start quarantine again. Yeah, I miss traveling too. It's killing me. I don't like that. It's kind of like how Japanese don't clap or cheer during live music. Understandable in some genres, but I want to hear the energy of the crowd. Oh, oh, even sub. Oh, even sub. Okay, I'm gonna go in though. I'm gonna finish what you're saying. One classical musician, don't know which one, maybe Chopin, hated that the crowd was dead silent during pieces. He loved it when crowds cheered and gave him energy. Okay, so the first show that I played in Japan, even sub, was very alarming because I thought that they hated me for that reason. I was playing and nothing, and I would say something in the middle of the show and nothing or whatever, and then the show ended. The show ended, and um, oh man, it was at a place called Circus Tokyo. The show ended, and everybody, not like a few of my fans, but like everybody, like lined up by the stage and came up to me, and like some of them like came up and they were like getting a sticker because I had some stickers specifically for my tour out there that I was giving out. But some people would come up to me and just thank me for playing and bow, and it was so formal and interesting and weird for me. But by the like 50th person that did, I was like, oh, these people did appreciate this. Because the entire show, by the way, I thought that they hated me. I was just like, yo, they're so quiet. They're so quiet. And yeah, then like they were just so quiet in the middle of the show, and at the end, it was just like some of the people were like showing me like really weird stuff that they had like drawn. People had like drawn me, like and drawn me with like some very complicated like voice bubbles with like kanji. I'm like saying these wild things. It's like a little comic strip of me, and I'm like, this is amazing. I have no idea what it says, but this is so cool. Thank you so much. And it was just like it was just as strong but different. And I ended up growing almost for a while, especially while I was there, a bigger appreciation for that than American audiences, because American audiences will do this thing where they are very loud while you're playing, which is cool, but sometimes I don't really feel like the crowd cares. I feel like the crowd is there for a party. They're there to hook up with some rando. They're there to drink. They're there to have a good time, and I just happen to be the background music for their good time. But in Japan, it felt more like people were watching me as if I was a movie, and they watched until the very end, and then at the end, like they came there, just like, oh my god, thank you so much, this is amazing. Like, Bon Bon is my favorite song, whatever. And I was just like, wow, this is wild. But yeah, they are quiet mid-show. They are quiet mid-show. The audience must be so different depending on the country. This is true. This is true because when I go back to Korea, the crowd were very westernized, I feel. They were very loud. They were like reaching over. A lot of people while I was playing on stage were like had their phones out and were just like literally like hovering. There's a few videos actually of me. They're like dark, but there's a few videos of me playing in Seoul where it's just like a bunch of girls up front with their cell phones just recording like top down angles of my hands while I was playing, and I was like, well, this is weird. I mean, dance or something, but this is fun, I guess. I don't know. Make sure to get the Instagram story popping. Well, isn't there a law against dancing? Or is that over yet? In certain clubs, Leona, there is law against dancing. Yes, in certain clubs. But a lot of places still do it. In Osaka, they be doing it. Maybe it's just a Tokyo thing? Okay, I like going to shows when you're part of the crowd facing the performer. Just like grouped together, like at the performer. Word up. I guess I like going to shows differently than I like performing shows, which is an important distinction to make, Kiwi. For example, the type of shows that I like to perform are not necessarily the type of shows that I like to attend. But yeah. Point is, crowds are different, culture's different. Please travel if you can. Investing in traveling, guys. I saw this thing. What? Hold on. Let me pull up. What was it called? What was it called? It was like the something hills or something. It was the something hills or something. Hold on. I'll find it. This is such a waste of time, but I'm looking it up because I want to. Bro, where is it? I know it's in here. Thank you. Into the lake. Okay, so Guilin, there's a place. Ooh. Oh my god. Okay. There's a place in China. You might actually already know what this is. Hold on, I accidentally maximized myself. There's a place in China just called that. Or if, like, you type in that. And, I saw it. And ever since I've seen it, I'm like, I don't care if I have to save up for, like, 6 months to a year and live like a bum. I need to get there. And I'm only saying I need to get there because of the way it looks. I would like to exist in that place. Now, I know pollution is wild over there, and I know this is like a place that's super rural, so there's probably not a lot of people speaking English. If any people speaking any English, so it'll probably be really difficult to navigate there. But every single time I see a picture of that place, I'm like, yo, that looks like something from like Avatar. That looks like something that we like made up in like a fantasy novel. And this isn't the only place that looks like that. There's so many reachable places, guys, that look that amazing that would cost you maybe $1,200 to get to, which I know sounds like a lot of money, but you guys have made and spent $1,200 in your lives. You could get it. And I'm just saying, if you invest in anything in your life, please invest in traveling, because who in here has not traveled? I'm not gonna make fun of you or anything. I just want to know if there's anybody in here that's not traveled. Who has like not left the country? Because I know you can travel in the United States. It's a very big country, but who hasn't left the country? Like, who hasn't gone to Europe or Asia, or even like Canada, South America, Africa? Like, who hasn't left? Who has not used a passport before? I have not yet, says Peace Bean. Okay, even Sub has not. I've never left US, says Kiwi. Oh, I guess I kind of knew that, Kiwi, huh? But this really weird thing happens, and I know this sounds so stupid, and it sounds like weird, maybe elitist garbage, but trust me, it's not supposed to. I don't want it to sound like that. Please don't take it this way, but this really weird thing happens when you go to another country, and you walk around for a little bit, and your brain, like, it, like, does this, I don't, it does this weird thing that actually, this is going to be the weirdest analogy. But please trust me on this. At least one of you guys have played Dark Souls or Bloodborne or whatever. This weird thing happens in those games where, like, you unlock, or like you've been walking through like a winding trail, and then it empties you out in an area, and you're like, wait, I've been here before. Wait, this connects to that. This really weird thing happens when you go someplace really far, and you're not seeing pictures of it, you're not looking at videos of it, you're not looking at videos of somebody running around Japan, because it's different looking at videos of people in Tokyo, even if they're your friends or whatever. It's different looking at those videos. And then when you're actually there and you're walking around, this really weird thing like clicks in your brain. It's so visceral and like physical almost. Like this really weird thing like clicks in your brain where you're like, oh, this is part of the planet I live on. I can get here now. Because a lot of things like that thing that I just posted in the chat, like the thing that I just posted in the chat, that, Guilin or however you say it, that place in China, I'm looking at pictures of it, but it's an unlocked area. Like I can't actually go there. I've seen people stand around Stonehenge before, but I've never actually gone there. It's not part of it's like grayed out on the map to me. But when you go to one of those grayed out areas on the map and you're seeing the things you've seen online, you're hearing this people speak this language, you're seeing the things and hearing and tasting and feeling. This really weird thing where it just like locks in a place where it's like, oh, I can do that. Like this is also part of my reality. This is not on the other side of some impassable ocean. Like this is part of my reality now. And you are changed. You are changed. It's really weird. A lot of those people, like I used to not understand it because I didn't travel until I was like well on into my teens. But a lot of those people that come back from a country and they're like, I need to leave. I got to get out of here. I used to not understand those people. I'm like, you just left. You went. What's the big deal? But I do think after you leave and you come back, it's the same thing, guys, as when you leave, to go to New York, or like Kiwi when you left to come out here to LA to visit. When you leave your home and then you go back to your home seems a little bit smaller. And then you leave your country and you come back home. And then your home seems even smaller. And then you go even further. You're on the other side of an ocean, then you come back. And your home just keeps shrinking and you feel like you keep expanding. And it's weird. There's no cool, eloquent, poetic way to say it. It just starts to feel like you're getting big and your home's getting smaller. It's weird. But it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to feel. The first time it happened, it's just like, whoa, what the heck? Like, oh my god, I'm here, I'm in the thing. A lot of people cry. I didn't cry. You guys have seen me cry. Things will make me cry. I didn't cry then, but I do remember like having like a weird moment where every single time I go to another place, when I was in France or when I was in Japan or when I was in Korea, you have like this moment where you're just like standing in the city and you're like, whoa, I'm like hyper aware that I'm like here right now, that my home is thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. Like human technology makes me allowed to be here. Like nobody could have traveled this far, a couple thousand years ago. They go as far as their legs could take them, or maybe a horse could take them. Now it's like I can go anywhere. This rock it's mine. Okay. Anyways, I haven't left the country, says Theo. Never drove an airplane or used a passport. Word up. Well, I hope for anybody that said that they hadn't traveled yet. Maybe you have a thing. Maybe you're afraid of planes. Maybe you're afraid of traveling. I'm not saying put yourself too far out of your comfort zone, but I am saying the one thing that I hope for everybody is that they're able to travel at some point and do it semi-regularly, maybe once a year, maybe once every other year, whatever works for you financially or emotionally. But it's really important because this really weird thing happens where like you see the same architecture, the same buildings, the same foods, the same cars for too long, and you just start to think that that's the default and everything else is alternative. And then you go to another place where that is the default and it kind of... I'm done talking about this, but please travel. Please travel if you can. People used to tell me to travel and I was like, I don't have money for that. But then when you really look at it, you can make it work. I remember standing in Grand Central. Definitely was one of the biggest culture shocks I've ever had. That's beautiful, Junk. I love hearing about that. Wow. It's like it's a small world, right? Says Jesse. I like that. Yeah. That's standing in the middle of Grand Central. That's beautiful. Wow. Okay. Lindsay says, I'm happy and lucky to have traveled out of the country and even to other regions in the U.S., but it only makes me feel more restless here. Of course. You're big and your home's small. That's my analogy that I use. I think that you're just expanding because your brain and your world experience is expanding, but your home is remaining the same size, which is a problem. You can get that experience even inside the states. The states are massive, by the way. I'll never forget the Grand Canyon. For sure, Umbe. It's hard for me to look at the Grand Canyon objectively because I was born in Arizona. So for me, the Grand Canyon is not significant. But you're absolutely right, which is why in the beginning I did say going around in the U.S. is, you know, there's a lot to see here. We have a lot of different biomes, you know. Obviously, going from L.A. to Seattle to Houston to Denver to Detroit to New York City to Miami, you're going to see a lot of different things, and it can be a bit of a culture shock. I'm just saying that leaving the country is like, is here, and traveling around the U.S. is kind of here. Because traveling in the U.S., you're still in the U.S., and U.S. culture is kind of the umbrella that we all live under. We can understand each other for certain things. And even when Lindsay was talking about being alone in the South versus being alone in New York being different, there is a specific, like, umbrella of American culture that kind of embraces us all and makes us all very similar. And then when you leave that culture, especially going to something, I mean, then we could even turn it to Western versus Eastern, because me going from LA to London, yeah, London's different, but very different than me going from LA to Seoul, you know? Wheeling is in Shinmu. It's neat in there too. Whoa, I didn't know that. Huh. Oh, Shinmu 3. Yeah. I didn't play that one, so that's pretty cool though. I think sometimes people also explore their own towns. Oh, I do this all the time. I call it urban exploration, but I'll just get on a random train or a bus and then get off at a random stop and try to get lost. But Umbe goes on to say, people in New York often never leave their roots to school slash work, and there's so much to see in the city. Ugh, breaks my heart, Umbe. Seeing LA would be so surreal to me after playing GTA 5 for long to remember. Oh my god. Okay, so listen, even sub. Listen to this. I have two friends. One's name is Matisse, and the other one's name is... He's going to be really upset because I forgot his name. But I remember his producer name is Sound Patrol. Oh, I'm so sorry I forgot your name. I call him Sound Patrol whenever we talk. But anyways, Matisse is from France. Sound Patrol is from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. He's from the Netherlands. Both of them came to stay with me 1 week. And they didn't give me a lot of heads up. Sound Patrol was just like, hey, me and my friend are coming to LA. Is it cool if we stay on your couch? And at the time, I was running this thing called House of Omni, which was kind of like a weird, basically like a halfway house for SoundCloud producers. So I think it was like a default yes. I was like, sure, you can stay here. And I took Matisse and Sound Patrol around. And the amount of times they freaked out and they were like, oh my god, it's the thing from Grand Theft Auto. It's the building from Grand Theft Auto. Oh my god, it's the observatory from Grand Theft Auto. It's the bank from Grand Theft Auto. It's the park from Like every day, at least 6 times a day when we were going around. Oh my god, it's from You live in Grand Theft Auto, Omni. Oh my god, your cul-de-sac looks just like Grand Theft Auto. Like they said it all the time. And oh, it's just a spider. It's okay. They said it all the time. But the one thing that was so funny to me is they were like, whoa, a lot of these things are a lot further apart than they are in Grand Theft Auto. And I was like, yeah, GTA 5 isn't to scale, dude. Like, being able to drive from the observatory to the Santa Monica Pier in, I don't know, 6 minutes is not... Like, these things are like an hour apart in the city. But it was very funny that they all had that, like, that distinction. Because, yeah, I live here, so I don't see those things a lot as Grand Theft Auto things, but I get it. Like, the observatory is a big thing in Grand Theft Auto. A mission happens there. The U.S. Bank is a big thing in Grand Theft Auto. It's the tallest building in the skyline. In Los Angeles, it's no longer the tallest building in the skyline. We have a completely new building that's been built that's a lot taller than that. But, yeah. However, I will say this. As somebody that was born in Arizona and came out to LA pretty early on, enough that I don't associate with Grand Theft Auto, San Francisco is a game that I mean, San Francisco's not a game. San Francisco's a city, but it's a city that I often associate with games like Sonic the Hedgehog or Crazy Taxi. So there's a lot of times where I'll see something in San Francisco and I'll go, oh, that's the thing from Sonic, or that's the thing from Crazy Taxi, or that's the thing from Tony Hawk. There's a lot of that city that has been featured in video games. One big shot going on in LA the first time was realizing the Hollywood sign is tiny AF compared to GTA and other media. Yeah, they make it seem really big. It's not big at all. It's very small. It's very small and it's not lit up at night, you know? You can't see it at night. That's the thing that a lot of people don't realize. Like, people will be like out on the strip, like Sunset Boulevard at like 9 p.m. and they're like, where's the Hollywood sign? I want to be able to see it. And I'm like, first of all, no one actually cares about the Hollywood sign. People that live in Hollywood don't look at that thing. Two, you can't see it because it's nighttime. There's not like big spotlights pointed at it or anything. So yeah, if the sun's down, you can't see the Hollywood sign. Okay. Somehow the conversation did get bookended by starting with food and ending up with video games. So I do feel like I need to tone to roll us out. Watch Dogs 2 is in San Fran are ingrained into my mind as one thing. Word up, I didn't play Watch Dogs 2, but I know it was based in San Francisco. I always heard it was underwhelming. I didn't realize it was actually small though. Junk says, it's not that it's small, it's very big. You just have to keep in mind that in things like video games, everything is condensed. So the hill that the Hollywood sign is on and Hollywood Boulevard are like this, but in reality, it's like way far away. So when you look at the Hollywood sign, you're not simply looking at a hill with the Hollywood sign on it. You're looking pretty far away into on a mountain, that has the sign on it. So it's just pretty far. So it appears pretty small. Yeah, a lot of things about. I would say that LA, nothing lives up to any of the glamour people have around LA. Hollywood Boulevard's disgusting and it's filthy and it's dangerous. The Hollywood sign is small and barely visible most of the time. The city is smog choked, so you can't see a lot of things at a distance. So if you go up to the Griffith Observatory and try to look at downtown, sometimes you can barely see it because of the pollution. So you should only go up there at night so that you can see it with the city lights. The LA River very rarely has water in it, which I guess does live up to its expectation if you've seen the movie Grease and all the other movies where they have scenes filmed in the LA River. I guess the beach is cool. I don't know. But a lot of it, I feel like a lot of people come here and they're like, I want to see the Chinese Theater. I want to see Hollywood Boulevard. I want to see the Santa Monica Pier. And then they go there and they're like, oh, okay, well, word up. I guess this is it, huh? Have you beaten the Dark Souls games, as even said? Technically, no. I've beaten the From Software game, but I haven't beaten the Dark Souls game. Gonna be completely transparent here. I've only beaten Sekiro, because that was the only one that I thoroughly enjoyed playing. I've talked about Dark Souls and my thoughts on it in previous streams. I just don't enjoy those games so much. I think they're very good games. I guess they're not for me. And I thought initially that it was because of the way they were built, but after playing and enjoying Sekiro, I think it might have something to do with setting. And I like games with strong, almost like spoon-fed narrative, and I realize maybe that makes me sound like an idiot, but I like games where it's like the main character has a name, and the main character has characters that they interact with, and the main character says things to these characters, and it's more like a traditional linear story than the kind of like reading like object items in order to piece together like a subplot. I think there's merit in both. I just personally, when I'm playing a game, I prefer the former than the latter. And Sekiro gave me more of the former. Hollywood Boulevard actually kind of made me upset. Remind me of Times Square, but somehow worse. Jesus Christ, somebody's going hard on LA right now. That's literally how I feel about Bourbon Street, New Orleans. Screw Bourbon Street, screw it. And as far as Hollywood Boulevard and Times Square, they both have a line store. All right, so that's all I care about. I love the line store, and they both have one of those. So if you take the line store out of Times Square, I'm not going to go there anymore. If you take the line store off of Hollywood Boulevard, I'm not going to go there anymore. Those are the only things that I care about in those two places. And yes, both of those things are very dirty. They're very stupid. They're tourist traps. And that's it. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. One of the only times I even ride the red line, if I'm being honest, is to go to Hollywood Boulevard, and it's just because they have a line store there now. It's just because they have a line store. Dark Souls just throws you in head first with no map. Yeah. I don't necessarily mind the no map thing. I said I wasn't going to get deep into this. I'm not motivated to play the game when I don't know who I am, if that makes sense. You know? In Sekiro, without any spoilers, like, it's very clear who you are, what your goal is. You're seeing this kid over there, and you're like, I know who that kid is, I know who this person is. We had a conversation. Before we fought, we exchanged words. In Dark Souls, before you fight a boss, it's kind of like a monster just explodes out of a wall, and then some really dope music starts playing. And then you're chopping this dude down. You kill him, and then you're like, I don't know who that was or why I had to kill him. But if you like read into some of like the finer details of the game, it does. You do understand it. But I like a more surface level, you know. Like in Sekiro, it's like very clear why these two men are fighting. In Dark Souls, it's more like, oh crap, what is that thing? Let me kill it before it kills me. You know. Anyways, I feel like that's more places in the U.S. That's most places in the U.S. as Peace Bean. Word up, word up. I kind of feel lucky because I haven't seen enough of the places I want to visit: Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, for example. So it'd be hard to disappoint me because there's nothing to live up to. Word up, Lindsay. There wasn't necessarily anything to live up to for me either. When I went to San Francisco, all I knew about San Francisco was streetcar, Golden Gate Bridge, Foggy, and it delivered very heavily on all three of those things. There was a Golden Gate Bridge. It was very foggy, and I did see a streetcar. So, yes, it was great. As far as Los Angeles, all I knew about Los Angeles is there's a beach and there's a music industry. And I moved here and I saw the beach and I saw the music industry, and it was great. It was glorious. The only times I've been kind of disappointed by things is I did think the Statue of Liberty was bigger than it was. I think a lot of people do. I thought it was huge. It wasn't that big. And I guess that's it actually. Statue of Liberty should have been bigger. I'm expecting a lot of boba options in LA, says Lindsay. Yeah, you'll see them. Statue of Liberty is also very far from the city. Yeah, it's way out there. Yeah, it's pretty far out there. I didn't even want to go to it, but I was with a group of friends who wanted to do the Ellis Island thing, so we went to Ellis Island, which, you know. Ooh, what the heck? Sorry. I'm gonna play that other thing and then I'm gonna start winding it down. But yeah, y'all hear the Statue of Liberty has a heart inside of it? Crap, what's that from? Just like Grand Theft Auto? Oh, it's from Grand Theft Auto. Okay. If you're having the French redesign something, I don't want them to do the Statue of Liberty. Have them redesign the Louvre. I hate walking around that building. I feel like they could make it. Sorry, no, I'm not an architect. Go to Fullerton. The amount of bubble will blow your mind, says Liana. And that's the only thing that will blow your mind in Fullerton because that town stinks. What a horrible place. What a boring, boring place to be. But yes, there is a lot of boba. The Louvre is a leaky mess too. Yeah, it's I like that quote coming from somebody with like a wrench in their tail. If you have to choose a place to stay for the rest of your life, Omni, which one would it be? Here's my thing. Oh, beautiful. It used to be Nice, right? But I haven't been in Nice in so long that it probably is completely different now, so I don't know. So... existence, Isidora, is living in a small apartment. Not much different from the size of my apartment now. Maybe even a little bit smaller. Living in like a small apartment, one bedroom, nice sized kitchen, decent sized living room. In a city. Maybe LA is that city. Maybe Houston is that city. But definitely in a city. Maybe Seattle's that city. Living in a small apartment in a city. And almost never being home, just traveling all the time. I don't really like staying in a place for too long, but I like having a home base, if that makes sense. I like having a place to call home. I like just very rarely being there. So it doesn't really matter where my home is, Easy I just would like for it to be in the city. It could even be this home. I love this home. I love my neighbors. I love this cul-de-sac. I would just spend, I would say, on average, 6 months out of the year someplace else. So, yeah. Even some says pretty cards love that altered V. Altered 5. Dang. I wish I knew. I love the word belonging. When I go to Paris one day, will the Eiffel Tower disappoint me? Isidore says no. The tower is beautiful. Even more in person. I guess it depends on what your expectations are from the tower. The tower is not very tall on base, so don't expect it to be like the Empire State Building or anything. It's not that tall. However, one of the things that's impressive about the Eiffel Tower is when you get up close to it, you really can see the parts of it. The Eiffel Tower, unlike a lot of buildings we have, like the Empire State Building, it's not covered in cement. You can like see all of like the ironworks and stuff, which is kind of impressive. What was I playing? What was I playing? Oh, I started that. I was playing Old Enough. That's right, I started Old Enough. Like. I'm an engineering guy, so that sounds amazing, says Inbei. Okay, hold on. That's okay. 6, 5, sharp 9 was butter, says even sub. I like having even sub in the stream. I like having even sub in the stream a lot. I don't know what these things are, but having somebody that knows and can know how to identify them by hearing them is very impressive. Hmm. Oh, thanks, Bacon Boy. The song's tentatively titled Liminality. Lindsay named it. Chibi Lucy, hi. I'm trying to work on comic pages. This is helping loads. So, that was actually an accidental chord because this progression is where I wanted to take it, but I accidentally hit this chord, which kind of works. It kind of works to like delay the eventual revival. Resolution? Is that resolving? Keyboard sound 182 though. Oh, keeping me on my toes. It's something called an ogo? That's what it is. That's a Robert Glasper song, I think. So beautiful. Oh, what is it? Just the like. Is that a Robert Glasper song? I definitely can't take any ownership of. Because I feel like that melody itself is so simple. Oh, now that I can't play it. Hello. Ooh, little baby. Hello, little baby. Welcome back. Welcome back. You say you've missed this, so I'm assuming you have been in the stream before. Reminds me of a music box, says Bacon Boy as well. I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials and read a book and never been to a teacher, says Even Subs. Word. I feel you on that. The weird thing is, wait, so, okay, so the problem is, no, not the problem, the weird thing is, when I'm playing these chord progressions, what was it, 180? Or 181 even. 181 was a music box. That was a music box. And then the 180 was a Glockenspiel. I love Glockenspiel. Ooh. This is a weird one though. So, I feel like it's a weird one. I do like the way those things sound. I love. Oh my god, why does it make that sound so much better? It does make that chord progression sound better for some reason. Anyways, maybe I should read a book too. Maybe you should, Lindsay. Little Baby says the clothes remind me of Mickey Mouse playing the piano. I've actually never seen Mickey Mouse play piano. so I can't be reminded of such. But I'm glad it reminds you of something, little baby. And welcome back. Not that I would be impressed with you as a teacher. I think that I think. Oh yeah, I was saying something. That's right. I got distracted, but I think something interesting about melody and chord progressions is that I will come up with all of these fun chord progressions, like I did for what's it called? What's it called? Old Enough. And then no. That's not it. That's not it. Anyways, point is, I'll come up with these chord progressions. Then when it comes time to actually make a song that I want people to dance to, it's hard for me to like contextualize those weirder like signals type chord progressions into a song that I want people to be able to dance to. And so without making another signals, I wish that I could like. I so badly want to turn Winter Heart into like a cool like. I want to turn it into like a Crackazat style like. But it's just too wild. If I can find a looping point in there. I'll try to find it. Anyways, I'll mess with that later. We've gone too long. We've gone too far. It is kind of hard to self-teach, though, because you don't know what you need to know and what you don't know. Yeah, yes. The great mystery of figuring out where exactly your ignorance lies and where your goals lie. It's really hard. Okay. I think that's going to do it, though. I think that's going to do it. Everybody, I have 2 bodies of work that I worked really hard on. One of them turned a year old last week. Yay! And the other one is turning a year old next month. One is called Quick Red and the other one is called Ego Death. Please go listen to these. I have 7 songs on each one. They come to a grand total of 14 songs. Half of it is very like upbeat and dancey, like Not on My Watch. If you've heard my song, Not on My Watch. If you've heard that, that's on Quick Breath. Ego Death, I very rarely play songs from, but the one that I feel like regularly occurs in the stream is Vanilla. That's on Ego Death. Ego Death is very, very ambient in its approach. So Casual seems to be a fan of it. Thank you, So Casual, for taking the time to listen to it. I know we have a lot of fun in the streams, and it's hard to. Then after I leave and I do my abo, it's hard to think about me outside of the stream. But if you do, please do listen to the music that I've released. So Ego Death is out. Quick Breath is also out. You can find both of those, as well as a single that was put out by Attack the Music called The View that I made on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon MP3, Tidal, Groove, Deezer, Pandora, Napster, and YouTube. We're on YouTube right now, and normally I upload a weekly video, but in recent times I've been taking a break from that because everything sucks right now. So you can go and listen to Quarantunes, which was my quarantine-themed like music weekly video release thing. It's just songs that I make usually sometime between Monday and Thursday, and then I shoot a video for it and edit it, and usually would have it released by Tuesday, I think is when the Quarantunes would come out. I can't remember, but anyhow, go check that out. If you have 2 minutes, each video is roughly 2 minutes and some change, or right at about 2 minutes, because I tried to make sure that they would fit on Twitter, and I think Twitter's maximum is 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So all of them are underneath 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Check those out if you get a second. Amazon MP3 does have too many syllables. I agree, Cyber. Um, yeah. Oh, congratulations, Lindsay. I just saw that you can play all the way through vanilla. That's really cool. Hmm. Not on My Watch is fun, says Chibi Lucy. I loved it. Thanks, Chibi Lucy, for listening to Not on My Watch. I'll go ahead and thank Mia Gladstone on your behalf as well, who I haven't been talking to as much lately. She might be worried about me. I should check in and tell her I'm okay. Word up, Kiwi. Word up, Kiwi. Does anybody put emphasis on the we? Kiwi? 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 Anyways, took longer than expected, but the chords are pretty confusing at first. Lindsay, I made the song, and the chords are confusing to me still. Here's fine. Here's fine. Fine, 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 fine. Weird. 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 Fine, 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 fine. Fine, 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 fine. Yeah, so the only weird part for me is like this chord and this chord. I don't know where those chords came from because I would never play that if it was in my hands. They're really pretty, but I don't even know what that is. Like, oh, maybe I do know what that is. Anyways, okay. Thank you though, Lindsay, for learning that. That does mean a lot to me. We'll work on some 4 on the Floor songs this Friday. Oh my god. I just have this like I have a very specific mood. That's what like Boss of Fire follows. It's what like all the songs in the studios so far. They're like and it's like this like swingy beat. And it's like random like piano like stabby chords. Jazzy but fun upbeat 4 on the 4 stuff. Anyways, I'll make it in the studio this Friday. It's Tuesday, so we have still 2 more streams left before we get to the studio stream. I do have some stuff that I have to do this month. I haven't figured out how I'm gonna do the whole like remote streams because at some point I'm gonna have to go back to Arizona to do some car stuff, some work on my car. Anyhow, I've been playing with stabby chords for like a year now. I'm in love with them. Word up, Umbe. Same. It's kind of impressive with me, says Lindsay, that you can be on camera for 5 days a week. Being perceived can be too much sometimes, says Lindsay. I get that. I get that. I mean, I do get exhausted sometimes. There are definitely some times where it's like Sunday night and Monday's the next morning and I'm like, oh, I have to stream in the morning. And I'll say it out loud. I'm like, oh, I feel like my weekend just started and I already have to stream tomorrow. But it's okay. How long is the drive to Arizona, asked Cyber? Well, if I'm obeying the speed limit, about 5 hours, 5.5 hours. Maybe 5 hours, 20 minutes. Are you originally from Arizona? I am so casual. The song that I've been playing and the music video for it, which was shot in Hong Kong, is on my YouTube channel under the title Hush Hour. Thank you, Even Sub, for coming into the stream. You came in asking about the Gucci chords, which, you know, is a thing that I'm used to, but you ended up staying and contributing quite a bit to the conversation, so I appreciate you. Hope to see you in a future stream maybe sometime. Again, everybody, every morning on weekdays at 9 a.m. for roughly 2 hours, I will be here to play the morning medley and answer some questions or get into some grits. Thank you all for being respectful to me and polite to each other. Don't forget to check my Insta when the stream is over, Omni. For sure, Theo. Maybe Instagram message it to me, actually. Oh, yeah, maybe Instagram message me, and then I'll make sure to be on top of my messages, because I usually am not, but I'll check them today. Liana's saying, have a terrific Tuesday. A good sub for Maddie. We all miss and love Maddie. We miss Maddie's alliteration, but this Tuesday should be terrific. I'm going to be running errands. I have to go get a new tire. I have to go get my check engine light checked. I have to go get the check engine light looked at. I also am going to be going to Pizzanista because it's $2 slice Tuesdays. You know what that means, baby. But that's later. I got to eat the breakfast that I prepared. I'm glad you had fun painting alongside the tunes, Chibi Lucy. Hopefully one day I get to see some of these paintings, maybe. Goodbye, Bacon Boy. Goodbye, everybody. Again, thank you guys for being respectful to me and polite to each other. I will see you here again on Wednesday at 9 a.m. for Morning Medley number 183. Again, apologies that I was late today. Hopefully tomorrow if the internet's out again, I'm just going to set up a hotspot and I'm going to stream off of that. So, abo everybody.